You'll take the welcome sign down. All right, good morning, everybody. Looking online, we did a sound check, that's all good. We are still don't have Director David off duty. Okay, we'll watch for him. Welcome to May 2026 to our board meeting. I will call the meeting to order and acknowledge and respect the Indigenous people within whose traditional lands we are meeting today. And I'll ask for a motion to adopt the agenda. Thank you, Moon, Hewitt. Any discussion, edits? Buckle?
No, I'll just go to second.
Okay, great. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Minutes from April. Like to move those. Thank you. And second. Thank you. Pop up any corrections.
The correction was in order.
Okay. You're welcome. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. CAO, you have some introductions.
Yes, through the chairs, we'll start with our effect with Sangeeta retiring. We've got Amy Wilson taking on the acting role of GM of Development Sustainability Services. And with her moving into that role, we've split her role between Elaine Hamilton, who will be taking on a role of Acting Resource Recovery Manager, Projects and Programs, and Amy Kootenay, who is not here today. No problem. Amy's Acting Resource Recovery Manager for Operations. So we'll be working through the rest of the year with that structure for the three of them. Corey Jacobsi, there we go. Emergency Support Services Coordinator. So he comes through a grant funded program through the province, and he'll be on a term position there. We've got a GIS analyst, Maria Fournier-Beck, who's coming in to fill in for a short-term leave for a little bit. And finally, Luke Magnell joins us as a utility technician. We had a little bit of turnover in our utilities department. He's replacing Dave Sherman.
Thank you so much. All right. So the biggest item on our agenda today, well, I believe this conversation is the remuneration committee recommendations. The way we're going to approach this is we're going to start with what's on our agenda. And once we get through those motions, we will then entertain further motions. We're going to do our best to watch the time on this while allocating what's needed based on the discussion, but also noting we have a really big agenda today. So we'll see where we get to with that. To begin, I'm going to ask the chair of the committee, Chair Hanegraaff, to just give us a quick opening and anything you want to add to your committee's work.
My means everything. I've got nothing in my mouth. Yeah, so we met, I think, 4 times, went over all of the feedback that we were given. I think I can speak for everyone when I say we're a little disappointed in that we only got feedback from 6 directors. But if you include the 4 of us, that's 10. So you can make the math work any way you want, right? Anyway, we did take all of that feedback and carefully looked at the suggestions given, and numbers matter, and sometimes like only one person was looking at wanting to change something. We looked at whether the change was needed, and then as a committee made a decision based on information given to us by staff as well on whether to propose a change or not. At the end of the day, I think we know that not all of these proposed changes are going to be embraced with enthusiasm. But look forward to having the discussion and hearing your thoughts, and I'm happy to tell you how the committee came to the decision they did and why we're proposing the change. So I don't know that you need anything more than that from me.
Wanted to acknowledge you as the chair and the committee's work. This is the first time we've had a remuneration committee specific pre to this term. So just wanted to give you that moment.
Yeah, I should probably add to that our job was made quite a bit easier, not only because of staff, but because of the work done by the previous remuneration committee, where they really did did a big thorough job of looking at it, so we were more the tweakers than the big changers. I'm gonna turn this off.
Tweakers, okay.
Okay.
Thanks for that correction. I did forget that. Okay, so I think what I would recommend then is if we have folks that want to just speak in general to this, we can do that. I'd like us to get through the motions on the agenda, and then new motions are other than after that. So,
Could I just to clarify one?
yes,
Are we gonna go through them one by one?
yes,
Thank you.
that's my recommendation. I would not suggest blocking this because that'll just be a bunch of.
Right.
So Jackman, you had your hand up. Hannah Graff, did you have further?
No.
Okay.
So say one by one, I want to make a comment on the fifth and sixth, so do I make it now or
No, when we get to the fifth and sixth.
nothing to say in the first?
Would anyone like to move the first?
I'll move the first motion.
Go ahead. And do we have a
Move it
second?
move it as presented.
Okay. So that motion is on the floor. This is an all vote weighted. Discussion on this motion.
I can speak to it. So, it's been a while since the meal allowances have been looked at, and we thought much in the same way that we, tie, pay increase or remuneration increases to the CPI. We thought we would, tie the meal allowances to the province of BC. Meal allowance starting January 1st of next year.
That one sounds pretty reasonable. Further discussion on this motion, pop up on this motion.
Yes, on this motion, I'm glad to hear that the remuneration committee looked at that and tied it to the provincial, so we don't have to address it from year to year. Thank you.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried, one down. All right, number 2.
I'll move it.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Further discussion. Go ahead. I know I asked you about AKBLG and UBCM as well, so.
Yeah,
Please
so
do.
we looked at it and just trying to contain costs, particularly around travel. We thought that limiting UBCM to twice per term seemed. Oh, sorry, FCM. Acronyms are gonna be the death of me. To twice per term. And I think it's fair to say that many of these recommendations were not unanimous in committee.
Thank you. Director Cunningham.
Yes, thank you. The one with regard to FCM. I think twice per term makes it a little bit difficult to become on the board of the FCM. And I believe that looking in the past few years, the fact that we've had members on the board of the FCM has been good for this board. And I think that the cost of being able to do this is minor compared to the amount of benefits that we get from it. I know that some are just not interested or don't understand FCM, and that's fine, stay home. But basically, the other thing that's happened when we do send the whole board, we can basically the BC caucus, we can control the BC caucus, if you would know what I mean, and make sure that it's pointed towards smaller communities and interior communities rather than the big cities. Because Vancouver will continue to send its entire 28 members or whatever. And that will be difficult for the rest of us that comes to voting on issues. So I thought we'd like to see perhaps that will be considered, but I won't be there, so I guess I have one to do the sharing. Thank you.
Thank you. I have McFadden, but I just want to clarify. I believe in the minutes it noted that there would be specific aspects related to those appointed to the board that would be separate from.
Yeah,
Do you? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, no, it's really bad. I'm just gonna bring clarity around that now.
yeah,
Okay, so please, Hannah Graff or staff, yeah, you were there.
yeah, no, it's, the understanding is that people on the FCM board would not be curtailed.
Okay. The McFadden, you're good. That was your clarification. Then I got Paige and Lockwood.
My only comment here, and just picking up what Cunningham had said, is if you're aspiring to go onto the board, the next cycle will be 2027 for BC. the containment we want is half the board going per year as opposed to the entire board. And this is achieving that by saying that the limit is 2 per person. I would be more interested in language that was like, we're limiting it to half the board each year and then allowing flexibility from there. But those are my comments.
Okay, I'm gonna stick to the speakers list.
Okay.
Lockwood and then David.
Thank you, through to the chair and to the committee. I totally agree with the thing. I'm just wondering, when we talk about somebody that is on FCM, do they not get to go no matter what? It doesn't matter what we do because,
So that was the clarification, is that was identified as, yes, separate. So Hannah Graffer, yeah, can you speak to that?
Yeah, through the chair, if somebody's, if the directors or board members on the FCM board or committee, then they're not limited by this recommendation. And in our current bylaw, there is actually a separate item for board elected members to the FCM. So it is outlined separately. And we'll, when we bring the bylaw forward to the board for adoption, we'll make sure that that's clear
a supplement. Okay, so with that, thank you for that explanation, because I that was confusing for me to put that all together because I thought it was separate already. I'm gonna go off of the last comment of the last director, is that if somebody actually does want to aspire to get on FCM board, can they not just go and try and get on at that time and then they would continue?
Yeah, I do know Director Gill wants to speak next, and she's familiar with that process, so.
Okay, thanks.
And can you note your stuff and we'll come back to you? I just want to.
Yeah.
Speakers list.
Yeah.
Hewitt, do you have an answer to that?
Well, I was gonna ask a question, but actually it might answer Director Lockwood's question when I asked mine. I agree with everything that Director Cunningham said. I think limiting us to twice per term, and if somebody is aspiring to be a director, it's really important that you have those other years to develop the relationships and learn the processes around FCM, not just in the year that you want to get elected or you're thinking of getting elected or appointed to the board. You need to establish those relationships with the organization, and just dropping yourself in the year of the election doesn't serve that purpose. And as far as we do have board meetings, there's 3 per year. Actually, it's reduced to 2 per year now. March and October, November for advocacy days and annual conferences outside of that. So it's not automatic in FCM world, right? Because that doesn't get covered by the small communities travel fund. Whereas it as a board member to board and committee members get covered for those 2 meetings or a significant portion of the expenses. So as Director Hanegraaff said, some of these resolutions were not unanimous at the table, and I believe that we should not limit.
I didn't get your question.
Can
we?
So I'm speaking in opposition.
Okay, wasn't clear at all, sorry. What I'd like to clarify here, though, is, so this motion is specific to anyone at this table attending 2 times per term.
Yeah.
Actual appointed to the board or committee is addressed in a separate aspect. And so I think we need to not conflate the 2 and focus only on the motion being 2 times per your term, not 2 directors at the table, 2 per term. So are we clear on that? And being appointed to the board is a separate conversation to the FCM, because that is covered separately.
Can I just clarify one more thing?
Yes.
It's not half the board every time there's FCM, it's twice per term. I want to be clear about that.
It could be 15.
Yeah.
Okay, So this is getting quite a list and I just. Okay, McLaren Co, go ahead.
Thank you, I just wanna, zoom in a little bit, just because I appreciate the intention to save funds, to save some money. But one of my larger points, and I have lots of notes here, but I'll just stick to this, is getting value for what we're investing. So I would like to see this more tied to, if people are going to go to FCM or UBCM or AKBLG or any kind of conference like that, that there's some kind of return for that. Because, I mean, you could just take a vacation. You could just go to a UBCM for a week, do nothing, show up to the banquet and file no report and get paid for it. It's the same thing with FCM. So I would rather, instead of limiting just spending the money, I would rather putting some brackets around what you need to produce. Like even just a simple report, just a template. That's a, here it is. What did you attend? What did you gain from it? And I would rather spend the money investing in it, because there's a point to people going. So if people are going to go and provide value for the people who are paying the stipends to be there, great. And so I think we should flip it on its head. I don't really have a suggestion, but as a larger point, I think there should be value for what we're paying people to attend.
So I got a speakers list, if you want to go on for the second time, can you go Cunningham on
Yeah.
Stewart to the notion that we have started requesting reports out of conferences.
So through the chair, the board has requested it, but there's no formal policy on that. That's something that's been directed by the board a while back that we are working on, and probably the change in term is a good time to do that. But we put something in place that says if you're attending AKBLG, UBCM, or FCM, there's a written report from the director on their activities the month after the conference.
So it doesn't have a control mechanism or enforcement mechanism, but it has been the expectation all along. So I have Newell Cunningham for the second time. And a motion on the floor. We'll only go so far with this one, and if we can't find a resolution, we'll refer it back to the committee. Newell, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll speak in opposition to the motion. I understand the intention. In the previous remuneration, anyway, the other committee, we talked about this. We instituted a professional development component to the stipends. Feeling strongly that the role, and I think as most of us know, some of the new directors, haven't heard that term today yet, realize the complexity of what we're trying to do around this table. So as the FCM, I feel, is part of this professional development of each of us. Speaking from someone who's been unable to attend the last 3 FCMs, so I'm speaking from a place of not being able to have attended for personal reasons, but I have missed it. Just and to highlight that, I think it's a particular importance for new directors. I found it amazingly informative the first 7 that I attended. I just want to comment on the portion of vacation, and I agree with some form of reporting out, but we did have an incident where a director did have a vacation, and that ended up in a resignation from their role. So it's not something that I've witnessed anyone taking very lightly. So, yeah, I'm in opposition to the motion.
So the speakers list is growing on this, but I'm going to ask us to focus on the motion on the floor, not related to board appointments, not related to, are you writing a report? Those are all kind of outside of this, but noted that's an important piece, and this board did ask for that in the past. So Tierney for the first time.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Yeah, I think we have to recognize the difference between those who may just run, fill the job for 1 term, maybe 2 terms, and those that are leaders at the table, those that have been going for a number of years. I would like to see our chair and vice chair go every year, but this motion would restrict that, the way I read it. And so I would like to see us represented by those that have been, I mean, rather than getting to who, those leaders that are at this table that are maybe career oriented in the time they've spent on this, because they have a big impact at it in that FCM. And maybe restricted in your first 2 terms or something.
You have lots of different ideas, given I haven't spoken yet, and I do want to speak to that because as the chair for the past 8 years, my approach to conferences has been, I did go to FCM in my first couple of terms, actually went as alternate and spoke and had asked for special permissions to do so. I've never been a quiet person. After about 4 or 5 years of going, I really recognized between FCM, UBCM, and AKBLG, FCM was so high level, municipal, large city focused. I had a really hard time finding value as a rural regional district that doesn't even exist in other parts of the country. We're the only province with a regional district. So I had a really hard time finding value, and I found I was spending a lot of time kind of wandering around and not feeling like it was worth my time. That's a personal experience, and I have asked the board in the past, if you want me to go as chair, I will go. And I actually never had anyone ask me to go, so I didn't. The other reason why, or the other approach I took to it was if we could actually have minister meetings, I would 100% be going, because that's where we get functional work done. I don't feel as functional with FCM in terms of the conference. We have directors that go, and that's where it feels functional to me. So that's been my approach. It doesn't mean that a future chair would not approach it differently. UBCM 100% all the time. Minister meetings, that is where I feel like I can do 3 weeks worth of work in that 1 week. Absolutely worth it. AKBLG fitness. No offense, but it can be fitness. Networking at AKBLG is really critical. I don't always find the sessions super helpful. No offense, just honest. I told him already. So that is not this motion, but I did want to speak to, if that is a consideration that the board would like to take, I think we need to be really clear about what is the expectation if you're sending the chair or the executive to FCM, and what are we getting out of that? And also compare it to our directors who actually do a lot of the critical work in the committees, and that's where I see a big difference. So that's just been my approach, and I thought it'd be helpful to share that with you. It's also $6,000 to $10,000 per person, and that's where, as someone who is quite interested in making sure we're being responsible with our, not that anyone is not fiscally responsible here, I did not find that worth it. So that's been my approach, but I can always take a different approach. So let's take one more speaker, Cunningham, for the second time, and then they're all gonna take the vote at that time.
Thank you, yes. I was thinking other ways we could save money, because if this is about saving money, there's directors who actually want to go, we could send them with expenses only. No stipend. And I think that if you really want to go, you will go without stipend, because after all, this purpose of the stipend, what is the purpose of our stipend? To pay us for the work we do? Well, I wouldn't mind going as a freebie. Expenses only, just because I think continuity is really important. I'd like to point out, of course, talking about value for money, it was because I was on the board of FCM when the first $500 million grant was given, the gas tax, and it was because of myself and other rural people that we were able to say, no, it is not. The gas tax is not going to be awarded on a, divide the population of the country into the amount of dollars. No. Because what good is it for me if Area G gets $2,700? What can I do with that? But if the district, if it's mentioned on the basis of, no, $50,000 down, and after that we get the division, now the small communities, and we battled all night over that, and it was one because the minister insisted on me getting an answer by 2 the next afternoon, where we able to come to conclusion. Does it benefit small communities? Yes, it benefits us.
Okay.
That's the kind of point I'm trying to make.
So we have options. We do have David on for the first time, and then Paige for a second time on this.
Gonna move an amendment.
Okay, 1 second. We'll take that, and also you can also refer it back to the committee if we want them to fine tune it. So I'm gonna take David off for the first time. Go ahead. You're muted.
Thank you, Chair. I echo the chair's comments, is that after you go a few times, it's like you realize there has to be a strategic purpose to attendance. So we did some business there with the Insurance Bureau of Canada when we had our issues in my constituency, my constituency of Glade, when FUS passed the recommendation that any community served by cable ferry in Canada was deemed unprotected when it came to insurance grading. We attended the strategic meetings there with the Insurance Bureau of Canada and things like that. So I don't know how we incorporate strategic attendance rather than just a number that we're looking at. I'm in favor of the motion as a cost-cutting measure, but I think we also need to think about strategic attendance where maybe it makes sense for more people to go or whatever. So cost cutting, yes, but strategic attendance is critical. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Davidoff, and welcome. Paige on
I would like to put forward an amendment, just listening to the conversation, as I mentioned earlier, where it says to be restricted to 2, I'd like to say to be restricted to 10 per year.
that you're misreading this. This is 2 directors, or sorry, 2 per director. If
Yeah,
you
I
go
know.
10, we're only a 4-year term.
So I'm saying that the motion be changed to directors attending the SDM conference be restricted to 10 directors per year.
Is there a second on that amendment?
Challenge the chair for accepting that. That's not an amendment, is it? That's a
It's
new
a
motion.
fundamental change.
We'll ask the professionals. Does it change the intent?
Through the chair, 2 per term is still 10 per year on average, for 4 years. I'm not sure I don't think it changes the intent of the motion.
The intent of the emotion is to put a restriction
No, I
on
know.
attendance.
Challenge the chair. It's a different motion, completely, in my opinion. I don't want to be that person, but it's.
Yeah.
Not, I don't think it's.
If you're formally challenging the chair, we have to take a vote on if that's accepted.
Maybe I've editorialized enough. I won't challenge the chair.
Oh, God. Thank you. It was seconded by Tyranny. So the motion's on the floor. The intent is to limit attendance. We're just changing how that limit is identified in the motion, so it's still the same intent. So the amendment is,
Be restricted to 10 directors per year.
okay, Ange, do you have that as an amendment? On the amendment, paragraph.
Yeah, I think it's fundamental change. The original motion leaves it to the directors to decide which FCM they want to go to. Switching it to 10 per year means how do we pick? How do we decide which 10 are allowed to go and which 10 aren't? So I think this is not what we contemplated as a committee. We did not think just send 10 per year and do it that way. That wasn't the conversation at all. And I do see it as a fundamental change, but I won't challenge the chair either.
Stuart.
For the chair, just from a staff perspective, 10 per year is a lot easier to budget for, because you're budgeting the same every year. The
Wasn't the
alternative is picking the 10. So we average about half the board a year. On average, about half the board goes a year. 9 are going this year. And I think if we look back, I don't think we have a year where we have much more than a dozen that have gone to FCM.
Thank you. Lynn, on the amendment, go ahead.
Sure. I just wanted to mention that the Village of Slocan for UBCM, we have a similar policy where we're 2 counselors are able to go per year, but we also have a methodology for determining those counselors, which is basically alphabetical by last name. And then we're in the situation this year where if somebody can't make it and it's technically their term, it still allows, our policy still allows another member to go in their place as needed or wanted or able. Folks are able to. So in general, I support the adjustment. It would keep the cost savings or ceiling in mind, but I think it would need to be fleshed out a little bit so that there was a fair and equitable approach to the 10 per year.
Thank you, Director Lynn. So we do have Hewitt on the list. I want to note we're at the second motion, 30 minutes in, 4 motions to go. And I know there's other motions that want to come from the floor. So there's very likely a point where we're going to have to refer this item back to the committee or alternative. So if we can be as specific as possible. Okay. Good. All those in favor of the amendment, which is 10 directors per year. Hands up. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Those opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Amendment fails. So back to the original motion. Those in favor.
The original motion?
The original motion. We're back to the original motion. Hands up. Good morning. Can I see your hands up? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4 online. Plus 5 is 9. Those opposed. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Motion fails. Thank you very much. All right.
Motion to refer back to the committee for.
It failed.
It failed.
There's no motion to refer. Okay, number 3 is that the board approves 3 board workshops per year to be considered as part of directors' regular duties and not draw additional stipend and related expenses be paid as per board policy. So this motion,
Can I move it?
moved. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion is on the floor and I've got Weatherhead first on the list. You got Paige on there. Go ahead, Director Weatherhead.
Thank you. I just like some clarity on the fact that as rural directors, there are sometimes there are specific workshops that are just pertaining to our rural work, which are very valuable to us. And so if we are approved for only 3 per year, I'm assuming the 3 per year means the whole board, which would seem correct. But could we still be putting a motion to ask for stipend beyond that, like for, let's say, specifically a rural workshop, which is hugely valuable to us?
Directors can always put forward motions in that regard. So this would include 3 in your stipend, Stuart.
Through the chair, I think the committee should comment on that.
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, yeah,
Paragraph.
I'll clarify. So, you know, every year we have workshops and there are motions for stipend. And I think there's maybe a bit of a perception that we're feathering our own nests or whatever the expression is by adding stipend to workshops and that. And the committee discussed this quite fully and felt, the majority felt that it's reasonable to expect that a certain number of workshops should be part of your duties as director and should not draw additional stipend. 3 seemed reasonable to the committee. Anything beyond that is you're free to make a motion, but we're saying the first 3 that you attend as a director will not draw stipend. Anything beyond that, you could, of course, make a motion on, and that was our discussion and intent behind this change.
Thank you. Weatherhead, are you good?
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. I think it's important to also note to move Vandenberg on the list. So the executive discussed workshops, and I think this is an important piece to the conversation, so I'm going to add it in. We had allocated every second Tuesday in the calendar for 2026 to be allocated to workshops. What occurred is we have a number of departments that have all their work coming on, and the ability for that kind of overview of who was doing what, when, and where. There was a conflation of a bunch of them happening at the same time. So what the executive discussed was that we would direct that if you were going to propose a workshop with the board, it has to fit within that schedule. If it doesn't, you're not having a workshop. So complementing the notion of all the workshops we've had in the last couple of months to staff saying, for us to say to staff, you can only have them within that Tuesday. And so at max, it'd be 6 workshops a year. That's it. And so I think that that was part of the compliment that we wanted to offer in terms of some controls around what was being expected and how do we incorporate that work. So speakers list, executive, was that correct? I just want to make sure I was.
Yeah, you said every second board Tuesday.
Yes,
Board
board
meeting
Tuesday.
which makes sense.
Thank you. Good clarification. Okay, Paige.
I was just wondering where we got the 3 from, and now hearing about the 6, it makes me want to change this motion to 6, just because that's what we're planning.
Do you want to hang on to that while we have the discussion?
I don't know what anyone else thinks, but the question was, how did you guys arrive at 3?
How do you arrive at 3?
It was strictly arbitrary.
Okay,
Maybe it makes sense.
quick answer. Good job. I will, if you want to propose that motion towards the end, Paige, just give us the heads up. McLaren Co.
You addressed it already. Good.
Okay. Vandenberg.
Thank you, through the chair. It's gonna be a clarity question, but I will start off by saying that the value of having workshops as a tool. I cannot express how important it is. It's the only place where we get to explore and really understand what we're trying to achieve. So that in itself is extremely important. The question around clarity is, as the motion is written, does that then prohibit the and related expenses to be paid as per board policy? I just need the clarity that if I'm going to drive across the mountain, that I can still claim that mileage expense regardless if it falls in this or not. I'm not clear on that.
Yeah, through the chair, if a workshop is one of the ones that does not draw additional stipend, you will be reimbursed for your travel expenses.
So then that's a no. There will be times that I will not get paid for.
No, yes.
Can you just be clear on?
Sorry, through the chair.
Sorry, but it's not, I need to be clear.
Yeah, no, it's just people can't hear you online, so I'm just asking you to speak this way. So your clarification, please clarify again and speak louder.
Through the chair, the answer is yes, you will receive travel expenses for workshops that if this motion passes, that you will not get stipend for.
Thank you.
Good?
Yep.
Okay. Newell.
Thank you. Pop-ups keep coming right in the middle. So if I were to reword this, it would really be saying that the board approved that the first 3 board workshops per year will be considered part of the director's regular duties. Is that correct? To the chair of the.
To me.
And I may, I'm just wondering if.
So. What we said is our thinking was the first 3 that you attend as a director. So what you don't get to do is not attend the first 3 and then attend the 4th, 5th, and 6th, expecting to get stipend.
So someone's gonna track.
Yeah.
Through the chair, then there would be a tracking mechanism by staff of who attends and whether they'll this one and then,
Yeah. Well,
Okay,
so
so
that-
let's focus on.
Sure, fair enough,
and
so that's
feedback.
speaking in opposition to.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Director Davidoff, can you please mute on your end? Thank you. Tierney.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I sort of changed my mind a bit once I heard the issue of the mileage and whatnot being paid. But I do believe there's a bit of an inequity between how far you have to travel to go to these workshops. And perhaps be fair if we held the workshops in different communities. Third in the Mountain Crested, third maybe in Castlegar, third in Nelson. Would be a lot more equitable for travel time and expenses.
So if you want to propose something down the road, this would be out of scope for this one. We also don't have facilities in all those places and you'd be exchanging your expenses on that for staff costs too and rentals and things like that. So I'd say let's just focus on the motion currently right here. McFadden for the first time.
Thank you. I just want to bring my thoughts, being on the committee is, the intent is to understand that our director stipend includes some of this work and it should include some of this work.
Yes.
And in other councils, other places that you sit, it does include some of this work. Like there's no, and so if that's kind of the intent behind it. Knowing and watching that our workshops, at least half the board often attends online, and that's an option to attend online. It eliminates the need for travel if people don't want to travel, and you still have the same interaction. There has been a few, I would say, that were beneficial to be in person. It makes quite a bit of difference because it's not just information, it's actually a lot of interpersonal stuff. So I take the point on that. But I do think the middle ground is we have the technology now. We have to be reasonable with what we are expecting. Taxpayers of only 67,000 people. We're a pretty small regional district. What's reasonable for them to be paying for us to do this work? And what does that work out per taxpayer? And so I think that's factoring in a lot of those discussions is this is important work. We have one board meeting a month. So to have an extra workshop even every second month, which is probably where we would have wanted to land, but compromising, trying to get what the board would approve. I think we landed at 3. You know, to expect every second month, there's an extra day you have to put work in that's included in your stipend, and you can do that online. I don't think is unreasonable, looking at how other regional districts, other councils, other people for the same percentage per taxpayer. That makes any sense. Like how much a taxpayer should be paying for us to do this work. That's where we came from, and that's where we landed.
Thank you, Ben. I've got you on the list page. Weatherhead for a second time.
Thank you, through the chair. Just thinking that the wording of this motion, I would remove, if this could be possibly a friendly amendment, to remove the not draw additional stipend, only because that's very, very directive. And then that negates the fact that if we did have some other workshop that was super important that we attended and we put in a whole day on that workshop, and we've already done 3, I think that if we remove that wording, then it allows for that. Whereas this wording, we could get stuck on this wording down the road somewhere.
So for clarification, this is stating the first 3 workshops per year would be included as part of your stipend, and you are not to draw an additional stipend. Past that, it would be open to a motion coming forward on the agenda as we have today. So that is clarifying that those workshops are included as part of your duties. So you can't draw an additional stipend for those first 3. So that if you remove that, you'd be countering the purpose of the motion.
So thank you, through the chair, just supplemental to that. Then my first question that I had asked that Director Hanegraaff had answered was that if like I was using rural directors having something beyond those 3, could we still take that motion to board?
Yes. So the first 3, you do not draw additional stipend. If this motion goes through, the first 3, your additional stipend, you do not draw it. We don't accept a motion. They're part of your regular work duties. Beyond that, a director can put forward a motion to say we would like stipend and expenses if we go beyond 3 workshops. So yes, you could put that motion forward after the 3 workshops.
Okay, thank you. I just thought the wording might be a sticking point at some point. Okay, saying, oh no, you can't because it's in the policy, blah, blah, blah.
No.
After 3, if this motion goes through, you hit 4 workshops, you can now put a motion forward to ask for stipend and expenses.
Great.
Okay. Jackman for the first time.
Yeah, thank you. You keep using words that aren't part of the motion. You keep hearing for the first 3. So is a friendly amendment, that should be that the board approve that the first 3 board workshops a director attends per year will be considered part of it. Because we're using words that aren't in the motion.
I think it's friendly.
I think it's friendly.
That does help the clarification.
Yeah.
Because yes, thank you. So can we, that the board approve the first 3? Is that what you're saying? Say it
Yes,
again, please.
board workshops that a director attends per year.
Yeah.
That a director attends. Do you have that, Angela?
Yeah.
And that's accepted as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
It's just clarification? Okay. Okay, so it's accepted as a friendly amendment. We don't need to go through amendment process. Hewitt, is this a first for you on this one?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. And Paige, I haven't lost you. I'm just respecting the first. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you, through the chair. I might be mistaken, but I thought part of the reason behind this was to avoid the one-off motions, but what I'm hearing spoken is that we are free to make a resolution beyond those three. So then there's gonna be, it could be motions coming every meeting, so it's defeating the purpose, because some will have taken their, you know, the first three that they attend and don't get it, but then there's others who are gonna want it, so it's gonna be everyone almost, except for the very first three that will still require a motion, right? Because I thought we talked about reducing the number of one-off motions that are coming to the board for consideration, but it isn't in here, that I was sure was part of the discussion. That we didn't want to have a number of motions coming forward throughout the year, that every other one is covered, no questions.
So let's clarify.
Yeah,
Currently in the schedule, we are asking staff to stick to 6 workshops a year, which is every second Tuesday, every second board week Tuesday. That's 6 workshops a year, okay? This motion is saying 3 of those are a part of your regular duties. The additional 3 could be subject to a motion, which would be 3 motions and a 12-year cycle. Yes?
Yes.
unless there's some other workshop that's done apart from the schedule that arises, whatever.
Okay,
But
okay,
what-
okay.
what-
Sorry, I
what-
need to respect the speaker's.
Sorry.
I'm sorry. I'm just clarifying, that is what this is saying.
Through the chair, that's how I read it.
Okay, thank you. So I'm gonna stick to the speaker's
So-
list. Supplemental.
So respectfully, through the chair, what you just said, what the executive committee considered and discussed was not information that we had as a committee when we were considering the motion.
And do you know that discussion was at the most recent executive due to the
Yeah.
safe spaces workshop, which only had 6 people. So that's when we discussed it.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have had that info. So what I wanna do is again, look at the time, look at what we're doing. We do have Lockwood for a first time. Go ahead, Lockwood.
As I move the motion, thank you, and listening to the conversation, I wonder if changing the motion and because it's a friendly what Director Jackman did, and adding that if there's only 6 that are allowed, adding so you don't have those one-off motions, is that anything after the 6 or after the 3 is allowed stipend, and so you don't have those one-offs, because that's what I'm hearing is how do you, okay, so I go to the first 3, no, I go to the first one, miss 2, go to the 4th one. So now,
We're overcomplicating this.
that's right,
Sorry.
so now we're, well, it's
A
gonna be
director will
really
bring a motion
complicated.
forward anytime to say that they wanna do something. This would limit it and staff would track how many were attended in terms of the 3. So they would say. You can't do that. So do you have a question?
I'm trying to figure out how do we make it so staff is not having to worry about that, oh geez, this person went to this one and now they get covered, and like it just seems like it's a lot more administrative task for staff, but
Stuart, do you have a response to that? Yep.
Sure, default to give on the process for that. It's going to be difficult regardless.
yeah.
And the solution, Director Lockwood, that you presented, it saves motions coming to the board. It doesn't save anything else from staff tracking who's attended what workshop.
Right.
And when they've tipped from 3 to 4. Yeah.
Okay, Paige, this is yours. Go ahead.
I would like to propose an amendment to the motion, which is that the board approve that the bi-monthly board week workshops be considered a part of the director's regular duties and do not qualify for additional stipends. And I would probably just wipe the last part off.
So it's a different motion, just,
If you find, do you think it's a different motion?
I'm just noting that if you wanna make an amendment, you should work with what the language is there and.
We can keep the do not draw additional stipend language if you want. And
Could you write it out for us? It's a bit tricky to try and grab that.
that the bi-monthly board week workshops will be considered a part of the director's regular duties. Instead of 3, that the bi-monthly board workshops.
You could also just say 6.
I think it's about the ones we schedule.
Okay, is there a second on that amendment? It's on the floor. Ange, do you have it?
Board workshops are, sorry, are part of the director's regular duties, so yes.
Okay, can you read it to us just so we ask it as?
That the board's bi-monthly board workshops will be considered a part of the director's regular duties.
And not draw additional stipends and related expenses paid as per board policy.
Yeah.
That's your motion. Hold on, I wanna make sure we get the amendment.
Yep, that's my.
That's the amendment. It was seconded by McFadden. You're good. Speakers list.
I have a point of order.
What's your point of order?
So the amendment isn't congruent with the first amendment that was made.
The first amendment failed. It's not on the floor.
Oh, Jesus. Okay, never mind.
Yeah. We're back to the.
No.
No, we mean the.
The friendly amendment.
Oh,
Friendly amendment included first 3 board workshops.
That the director attends. And this is very different. This amendment doesn't fit in with the.
I'm gonna ask the corporate officer to clarify this, or sorry.
Yeah, through the chair, it would conflict with the motion, yeah. It would conflict tactic teams.
So then the recommendation would be to propose a different motion after this one is.
Yeah, through the chair, the recommendation would be to consider the motion that's on the floor with any other potential amendments that work, and then vote on that, and then if the director wanted to propose a different motion, depending on the outcome of that vote. It could.
Okay, action. Yes, please withdraw that amendment.
Can I just speak to it?
It doesn't fit, you have to withdraw it. We'll come back to it.
I don't even get to say anything.
You cannot, you could. The motion, the amendment is withdrawn, it doesn't qualify, you can
I
speak
would,
now.
I'm happy to withdraw it.
Okay.
On the consideration that I think we stick to bi-monthly, it's simpler for staff, it's simpler for how we schedule everything, so I would ask everyone to vote against this motion so I can bring it forward on its own standing after we're completed.
Okay,
That one's in withdrawal.
who's next? You already have that.
Or so also please vote.
McFadden, sorry, I also have Vandenberg. McFadden, go ahead.
Great, I'll propose the motion to change from 3 till 6. I do understand your point, Director Page. But I think 6 gives flexibility that if there's ever a month that, let's say, we have to move it from that bi-weekly because we don't have a joint resource recovery and we can move it to that slot, or it leaves enough flexibility to know that we're saying 6 per year, which actually was the intent of but we were trying to put something forward that seemed reasonable, but 6, is that what we were agreeing on? We agree that should be a part of our job, so I would move it to 6 and do that as the amendment.
So the amendment is that instead of 3, the number 6 is applied. Is there a second on that amendment? Paige, take your second. So the amendment's on the floor, and just noting the reason why it was bi-monthly on Tuesdays was the executive been talking about the calendar. We know how hard it is to schedule us, so we wanted it in the calendar, and that's where it landed. It doesn't have to be those days, but it's way easy to schedule. So that was the bi-monthly. So the 6 is on the floor. Speaking to the 6. Go ahead, McFarland.
Just really quickly, at the beginning of the term, so many years ago, there are lots of workshops for training for new directors. So I just wanted, it's not just that every other month we have a workshop. So there's a lot at the very beginning.
Board orientation separate.
Yeah, through the chair, board orientation, we developed it's not a workshop, procedure at the beginning of this term that basically provided that remuneration to directors for attending the numerous orientation sessions they had to start the term.
Separate. So on 6, I did have Vandenberg on the list. Can you put even on the list? Vandenberg, are you on the amendment or are you good?
Yes.
Oh,
Your first question.
yes, you're on the list for amendment.
Yes,
Go ahead.
thank you through the chair. So the question is to the remuneration. And I appreciate all the hard work that you put into it, but when you were contemplating, these workshops, did you also consider, board, generated or board requested versus staff requested? Because we do see both. And we don't know if that is something that you talked about, because some of those we don't have control over.
No. The answer is no, they're workshops.
Thank you.
Hewitt.
Through the chair, am I allowed to make a comment or do I have to have a question?
If it's on the amendment, you can ask a question or make a comment.
Okay, my concern is that I think maybe we're not, but we're setting policy for the next board. And I think if we want to attract young people, and they're most likely gonna be working people, one would hope, by doing this, you might be stifling their voices because they will not be able to afford to take off time to go to workshops. So you will not have their voices at the table and heard on issues, and they won't be able to further their education regarding board activities and what the board in the different departments do. That's my feeling.
So you're in opposition.
I'm in opposition.
Oh. Preferring code.
Sorry. Thank you.
No.
Only because Director Hewitt brought it up. My larger concern, and I thought about this on the 2-hour drive, I had this one to get here at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's the next board that we're talking about. It's the future. Who's gonna be at this table and who can afford it? The larger question that was not addressed by the committee, or at least not in the recommendations, is a municipal stipend is $19,000 a year. So who do you expect? I mean, most of us, I'm almost the youngest person in this room. I know what it costs me to pay a mortgage. I know what it costs people that are moving here now to pay a mortgage. It's way beyond the capacity if you're getting paid $18,000 a year. Nobody's taking that job. So who do we want to sit at this table? Like, what's the outcome that we want? Do we want representation? Do we want people to take off a day of work plus 4 hours of commuting to come here for workshops? There's an equity of information here piece that like I've been on council now for municipal council for 8 years. There's an equity of information piece that I find at this table sometimes doesn't exist. There's almost privileged information. People who can afford to come and people who can't. I would love to come to everything. I would love to come to rural affairs all the time, for example, and all the workshops and all the committees. But we also have to pay for our children and mortgages and all the other things. So to not be compensated for taking literally time off work is very difficult. And so think about the outcome that you want. Who do you want at this table next time?
Are you in opposition to the amendment?
Undecided.
I'm just clarifying you're speaking to. Just friendly reminder, we're at 10 o'clock, we're an hour on the site and we still have 3 motions to go. So it's a big topic, I respect that. And also we have about 700 pages of an agenda to get through. Lockwood, then McFadden. Oh, sorry, Weatherhead, I didn't. No. Oh. I have Lockwood and McFadden first and then Weatherhead for the third time. Okay, Lockwood.
Thank you. I'm gonna speak for the amendment. I think I should move to Nakas because if a councillor's getting 18,000, I get 11,500 as a mayor.
A municipal director.
Oh, it's municipal director. I did not run in my municipality for the expenses here. And if you, I guess I'm speaking for this motion because I as a municipality, I don't get paid for any committee work. It's all free for my municipality. I make more sitting at this table than I do at my municipality, which is affecting the same taxpayer. And I think that when people are running, you have to wonder, or yourself, is why am I running? Am I running because I feel that I can do a difference at that table? Or am I running because I'm doing as a job? And when we're talking local government, local government, especially around here, is very small. We're not talking provincial or federal, which you want, that's where the big bucks are. So I'm speaking for this. I think that, I understand, I gave up a full-time job to do this. So I understand where people are, you know, but I think that we have to ask ourselves, are we doing this for our communities or are we doing this for the pig? So I'm for.
Thank you. I'm gonna speak for the first time on this motion and then McFadden and then Weatherhead for the third
Could
time.
we just get clarification of what the motion is? Someone keeps talking about amendment.
Okay, we'll read it out again. Read it out, please.
That the board approved the first 6, well, I guess it would be 6 board workshops that a director attends per year will be considered as part of the director's regular duties and not draw additional stipend and related expenses be paid as per board policy.
And we're debating the amendment.
6, yes.
6,
The
It's
amendment,
not the motion yet, it's.
the amendment on 6, right? Okay,
Thank you.
so in discussing this, I think for myself, the things that I really need to clarify for my own approach to this is that this is not about me. But my experience is very relative to what I might consider. This is about how do we attract people into this work that can do the work that's required to get the job done. I think one of the issues with what we do at local government is we're actually expected to do a lot of work that is not compensated, whether that's the conversation you have at the grocery store, because you're community members, you're the front line. The work that we do at this board from the time I've been sitting here has doubled, if not tripled, in terms of whether that's provincial downloading, whether that's additional work we want to take on. The expectations of what we need to do has drastically increased. The last remuneration committee, which thank you again for reminding me there was one, the biggest conversation at that was related to childcare and how do we address that. When I started, I had a 2-year-old and I was a single mom. Is that the person we're going to attract? I hope so. I think I've done a great job. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who the person is coming in, but we want to attract those people to come in. You can make the choice if you have the financial privilege to do so. If you don't, you might be the best person for the job, but you cannot financially choose to do that. So I think that's what we need to be thinking of is it's not about me. I have experience that tells me what I need to consider, but I need to think about who's coming into this work and how do we sustain the level of energy it takes to keep up with this. 1,500 pages a month minimum is what we're reading. In terms of meetings, 3 would be a very small, maybe it's August and there's fires and we're not doing anything but responding to those. That would be a slow month. That is not generally what we do. So I think there has to be a compromise between how do we attract the people that need to be at this table regardless of their financial background, but who's the best for the job. And so in that sense, I'm actually okay with this motion. In terms of where I sit with it, mostly because I think 6 a year is critical to the work we do, and that's fine with me. Okay, McFadden for the second time, thank you for that. Okay,
I was wanting to put the amendment, so you can, okay.
oh, okay, Lockwood on the amendment.
Weatherhead.
Oh.
Running it.
Someone. Oh, it's been fun morning. Weatherhead, I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Thank you through the chair. My question, I'm in favor of the 6. My question is how the staff, for the ease of staff, I look at this like the way that staff allocate our funds toward our committee meetings. Let's say we don't show up to a committee meeting, we don't get paid for it. And so I like the ease of this. And so my question is just to clarify, does that seem to be more in line with making this easier for staff?
Yeah.
For chair, so the question is whether the 6 makes it easier.
Because you're not tracking the 3 versus the.
Yeah, 6 would be easier, but I guess any number we'd still be tracking them all. So
yeah.
If we go beyond 6, which maybe is a possibility, then we would have to track no matter what the number is.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good. McFadden.
Great, I'll just close by saying, I think I think I am the youngest person sitting around the table. And had 2 little kids when I got into this business. And I know people might think that I make a lot of money being the mayor of the city of Cascade, but I promise you I could make a heck of a lot more if I did something else with my life. So I'll say from my perspective that I don't think anyone gets into this for the money. And I think we need to be careful, and we talked about this at the committee level, is you are getting paid. We're just saying what you're getting paid for and when. So by saying that we're not now getting paid for workshops makes it sound like you're not getting paid to do that. What we're saying is your stipend actually, you get monthly, includes that. We are 66,000 people on average. There's 20 of us. If we would like to be able to bring those numbers down, we could decrease this board till 10. But we have 20 for 66,000 people. That is an average of 3,000 people that have representation around this table. Tell me what level of government has that type of representation for 3,000 people. We have to have something that's reasonable for the population size we have. I don't disagree that we do way more work than we should. I don't disagree that there's a lot on our plate, but part of it is the system we're in, and we're really spread out. So I don't actually think 66,000 people probably need this much representation, but we're not going to change that because this is our regional district. Like if we had half of us, then yes, half of us would get paid more to do probably the same amount of work because you're talking about the same issues and the same things. Anyways, so my point is you're trying to work within a framework that is a very large region with 20 directors for a pretty small population. And this was kind of our landing. So just be careful in saying that you're not getting paid to do the work. We're just stipulating what is included in what your pay is. It's not that you're not getting now your wage. You are trading working one job for working another when you show up at this table. So when you're here, you're getting paid. Just because you're not getting paid at your other job doesn't mean you're not getting paid to work. You are getting paid to work. It's just a different job. I don't get paid when I'm not at my other jobs. I work those hours around that. And that's just been my reality for 8 years. So anyways, I'll stop. I continue on, but I'll stop.
Thank you. So on the amendment, those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, that passes, but those opposed? 1, 2, okay, just it passes. Okay, so the amendment passes. You got it, Ange? The motion as amended, all those in favor?
Don't we debate it now?
You need to keep debating it. The amendment passed. We're not gonna go back and try and change that. We have 3 other motions to go for. We've been an hour and 10 minutes. You can challenge the chair. Wait for that one.
Okay, I won't challenge it.
All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It passes, so is opposed. Thank you. Okay. So we do have 3 more motions to go, and I know there's other motions. I'm going to keep going and we're just gonna do our best with the day, okay? So for motion number 4, Cunningham, yes.
Perhaps we need a workshop to discuss this.
No.
I'm being.
Yes. 5. Hannah Grafton.
I'll move it, and if I can get a seconder, I'll speak to it. Hopefully clarify it.
It's on the floor.
So this came forward because what was happening is if 2 or even 3 directors carpool to, let's say, UBCM, the mileage was restricted to equivalent to the airfare of 1 person, even though 3 people were driving. So people weren't getting their full mileage. They were just getting the equivalent of 1 airfare, even if there were 2 or possibly 3 directors in the vehicle. And the other thing we wanted to clarify with the total airfare is you can't fly anymore without getting charged for luggage and everything else. And we all know that when we go to conferences, we've got our laptops, we're not just taking a carry-on with us. So that's the point and the purpose of the recommendation.
All right. Discussion, do it.
And it was also, my recollection, it was to incentivize. Part,
Yeah,
Yes.
that too,
Yeah.
thank you.
Further discussion? Lovely. All those in favor?
Easy peasy.
All right. Anybody opposed? Thank you, that passes. Okay, number 5. Paragraph, go ahead.
Yeah, okay, so I'll move it, and if I can get a seconder, I'll speak.
On the floor?
So this, actually, this came from New Denver, where they're kind of sharing the duties, and they didn't feel it was right for both the mayor and the alternate to get paid when the alternate was there at the mayor's place. So that I wanted to put it in context of where it came from. I remember as a new director, and 3 of us were new directors, like first termers on the committee, being kind of surprised that you got the stipend even if you didn't attend board. So there was feeling that really if one person is like only one person per seat should get paid for board was essentially the feeling, and that's what we're trying to accomplish here.
Okay. So I have Jackman and Casely. Jackman, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Just an observation that, how we sit here during the board meeting is important. But I spend more time preparing to sit here than I spend sitting here. I haven't missed a board meeting. Missed 1 hospital board meeting out of 2 hospitals this week. That's more luck than anything else. But if I couldn't make a meeting, I still have to read everything. I have to understand the full report. I can't say, well, I don't need to know what happened that month, because it's cyclical, it keeps coming back at us. So to simply deduct the full amount is a little bit simplistic. Sitting here isn't the job. Now, if we think that that dollar amount is just to sit here for the day, now the preparation, that's a whole other conversation. Half the meeting be deducted, the stipend, I don't know, but it's not that simplistic.
Thank you. Casely.
Yeah, and as I sit here and listen to talk about having working people, this is why we do it this way, is because I work a full-time job. And like today, I take a day off. It makes it easier to be able to do this. If we want actual working people at this, this is one way of sharing the duties of this. And to us, it doesn't, our stipends are lower than the directors. So, you know, as you see us being, it isn't about money. It's about being fair to our constituents. And we talk all the time because we actually sit on another board. This is a part-time part of the stuff off the side of our desk that we have to do besides our regular council stuff. So we feel it's very important that this actually shows also to our constituents that we really care about their money we're spending.
Thank you, Director Casely. Director Weatherhead.
Thank you through the chair. Okay, so my question, I have a question, but also I do agree with what Director Jackman is stating, because if I send an alternate, I'm still doing all of the prep for that alternate. So, my question is, if there's if there is no alternate, some of us don't have alternates. So, but if you have to miss a meeting, you have to miss a meeting. Doesn't mean that you haven't read the agenda and done all of the work on it. So, other than you can't vote, that's about it, and sit there and vote. So, does it mean that if you cannot attend a meeting but you don't have an alternate, does it still stay within your stipend coverage?
Yep.
Through the chair, the intent is if you don't make the meeting, for any reason, you would be deducted that stipend. So whether an alternate attends in your place or not, the intent was it would still be deducted.
Okay. Director Newell.
Yes, I'd like to propose an amendment. I sent it through this morning.
Oh, can you read it up?
Change screens here, but I think I put it forward so that it's.
Ange has it, go ahead, Angela.
So it's an amendment. And so it says that the board approved that if a director is absent from 2 or more board meetings, that the alternate director board meeting rate will be deducted from the director's monthly stipend for the second and subsequent, oh my,
Subsequent.
thank you, subsequent meetings.
That's it exactly. Exactly.
Is there a way
If I
you
can
can
get a
circulate
second, I'd
that?
like to.
Circulate that, Ange, through the emails, please. It's very helpful to be
I'll
able to see
send
it.
it.
Okay. Currently, I'm not totally following it because I need to read it.
Okay, so I'll speak to it. So it's basically, after thinking about it, this and that, I thought, okay, well, I get the general sense of it. And if a director is missing all the meetings, not showing up, and after, what is it, provincial regulations say after 4 meetings, the board has, after 6 meetings, the board could make a decision to oust a director. So I thought, well, let's give the first one and then we'll see what it is. So that's the rationale. I want to add to Director Jackman's comments about preparation. Certain committees, I've been on a committee, that's financial one, people, they divide the stipend into preparatory and attendance. So they give you a stipend to prepare to read the 900 pages, and then they give a stipend for your attendance at the meeting. So with that in mind, I thought, well, let's try this slight change to what the committee recommended.
Okay, and I was wrong. I should stop trying to correct things. It is 4, not 6. Yeah. Vandenberg. Yeah, Gage.
I am fine with what's being said. I'm supporting the amendment.
Thank you. Paige, go ahead.
I think it should be 3 if you're gonna start at deducting it the second time. That's all. I think once you've started to miss a quarter, then it makes sense. I think 2, you miss 2 meetings and then it starts getting deducted the second time. I think that's too quick. So I'd amend it to 3.
It's a friendly amendment.
You were accepting changing the 2 to
Yeah, I
3.
was gonna 3, that he was put in my mind.
Okay, so 1 second, let's just catch that. Change the 2 to a 3. It's accepted as a friendly amendment. Who's the seconder on that motion?
It's
Jackman for discussion.
Yeah.
Oh, Jackman for
oh,
discussion.
yeah.
3, I'm good.
Okay, thank you. Friendly is accepted. So Cunningham, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And this is only board meetings, not committee meetings?
This is board meetings.
Thank you. Well, I just wondered because.
Okay, board meetings is what is in the motion. Further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? That carries. Okay,
Motion is amended, Chair.
motion as amended, thank you. Motion as amended,
I'll move forward. It's moved.
it's already on,
Yeah.
yeah.
Call the
Yeah.
question?
Sorry, yeah, I do allow staff to speak. Maybe not here instantly, no, I'm kidding, sorry,
Okay,
yeah,
just
go ahead.
the chair clarify, is that 3 meetings in a row or 3 in a year or 3 in a term?
I meant in a row.
In a row, okay.
Oh, no,
It's
I
not-
didn't mean in a row.
It's not how the motion's written, so.
No, I
it's
didn't
3.
mean in a row.
Okay.
I meant pattern missing and getting paid for it. So it did. Thanks for clarifying.
I have a very quick question.
Clarifying question, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. So just to Director Casey's point, that if you're just going back and forth, the pay should go to the person who's attending. Now we've largely changed that. So it kind of changes the nature of. Just for clarity, like it's not what was intended.
No.
Question mark.
It's not what, it is
Hold on,
not.
you're not on the
what-
speaker,
Sorry.
list. 1 second, please, I wanna clarify this motion. That the board approves that if the director is absent from 3 or more board meetings, that the alternate director board meeting rate will be deducted from the director's monthly stipend for the third and subsequent meetings. That is your motion. That is what has been currently as amended, approved by this table. So Hannah Grapp, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's not what we intended, but I think part of the problem is developing policy around what is a bit of an anomaly, as in what happens in New Denver. And so there's been a lot of concern expressed around people who may be sick and unable to attend and what that does to them. So, yeah.
Well, noting this is kind of the middle ground with that.
Yeah.
Okay. Motion as amended, Paige.
I worry, I would, maybe friendly, probably should be more board meetings per year versus per term.
Oh, it's per year, definitely.
I think per year would be the other time.
Chair, that was a question I had that should be stated in the motion.
Okay.
Friendly?
Friendly, accepted. Or Jackman, Mr. Jackman, sorry.
Per calendar year.
Yes.
Sure.
You got that, Ange? Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? That passes. Okay, one more and then, break time, and then I think we're gonna do something a little different. You wanna move this? Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll move it and we'll speak if I get a second.
It's on the floor, go ahead.
Okay, this is just our attempt to deal with the anomaly that exists around travel for the rural directors. Some people have to travel a lot more than others in the proper carrying of their duties, and so we thought we'll try it with a cap of $3,000 a year and see if that's adequate or not, and then the next remuneration committee can deal with it if it flies this time, so, yeah.
And I'm gonna ask the question I asked you by email, just to clarify. So currently as a rural director, I might have, and this was not based on D, which is a large area, or H specifically. But when I have meetings in Meadow Creek, if I have community meetings up in Argenta, if I have any meetings that are not RDCK meetings, there is no stipend or expenses claimed. Well, stipend is through what I get as a stipend.
Yeah.
But there are no expenses eligible for mileage. So this is addressing that. Okay, I just wanted to clarify that and make sure people knew that we don't actually claim any of that in terms of expenses.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
So that's the motion on the floor. Anyone want to speak to it? Vandenberg.
I'm just trying to do a little math thing through the chair, but did you have a baseline in which you could draw from to reach that amount?
That's through to the committee.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, I think we just kicked it around and thought 50K round trip would be the first threshold, and 3,000 a year hopefully is adequate to cover off those additional meetings that require a lot of travel. But really, I mean, it's until you try it, you don't know if it's adequate or not.
So the answer is no, there was no baseline
No.
that you're using, you were just
We
trying to put a
just-
baseline on it.
Yeah.
Okay, supplemental.
And just for clarity, does this include any time that we travel regardless of board, workshop, so on?
This would be separate from board workshop. Anything that's separate from the board designated workshop, committee meetings, whatnot, where expenses already applied. This is your own director community meetings, which you do not currently have the ability to claim expenses on.
Okay, the last point, my quick math suggests that's right at the threshold for us at Crescent Valley.
Okay. And we all have different geographies, so
Yep.
we all experience
Yep.
different. So on the speakers list, we have Weatherhead, Popoff, and Lund. Weatherhead, go ahead.
Thank you through the chair. So just for clarity, the in the claiming process of this, what would be the requirements to make this claim, and what would our staff need from us to claim these meetings? What kind of what do we have to be
What's the
accountable for?
criteria? Yeah.
Through the chair, we discussed that a bit. So basically, it would be sort of the onus would be on the directors, but if anything that's acceptable by the CRA, for travel purposes. So staff will not be policing this, and so we'll have a travel form. But currently the intent is for any travel that's that the CRA would accept as part of your role.
So I think that leaves a bit of confusion, I'm gonna guess, because I would assume it's whatever you're being asked to go to as director, which the CRA doesn't acknowledge what that is. We don't have a job description that says what does the director do for its job.
Yeah.
So can you further clarify what does the CRA mean?
T2200.
That's different. Go.
To the chair, the T2200 would be what the CRA would need, because it basically says that the RDCK says you have to travel for work.
And what we put on that is anything that we've indicated is you're going as director.
Yeah, like
Okay.
through the chair, we can get into the nitty gritty on, track a calendar and say which ones you got reimbursed for and which ones you didn't. So when you're doing your taxes, you can put the kilometers there, but we can take that offline. And I do suggest we do something around, should this motion pass and this amendment be made to the bylaw, that we do something where you submit monthly or every couple of months on that, as opposed to every time you drive somewhere, because that will overwhelm staff.
Okay. Weatherhead, I just wanted to I'm gonna go back to you now. I wanted to make sure that was clear. Go ahead. Did you get it?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you. I get that. And I mean, having my own business, I've always tracked my working kilometers, and then I just apply it to the T2022 anyways now. So, and yes, and the way it is tracked is pretty clear. These are this on your vehicle, you have to just track everything anyways for any vehicle expense for tax write-off. So
you got it? Okay. Pop.
Yeah, just to give an example of a baseline, I track my mileage when I travel in an RDCK business. Pre-COVID, it was close to 3,000 kilometers per year. After COVID, most of my meetings are on Zoom now. It's down to about 1,500.
Thank you. Len.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to propose that this may not only be applicable to rural directors, and just thinking of the Slocan Valley member municipalities. We're in a number of shared services, so there are circumstances, although they're becoming more rare as we're able to remote in and have commission meetings, but there are examples where for the Economic Development Partnership, for example, if we're meeting in Appledale, our partner from Silverton would need to travel to attend that meeting over 25 kilometers. So I'm proposing an amendment that we remove rural director from this motion. So
Is there a second on that? It's been seconded, so the motion is now that it applies to all directors. That is the amendment on the floor. Okay. Good one. You got the amendment on the floor. Are you done for now?
yeah, and just again that it's rare, and it would be specific to regional district business, but there are circumstances where it would be applicable to municipal directors as well, as part of a regional district service work.
Yes. Okay. Okay, I'll stick to the speakers list on the amendment. Hewitt.
All right, so speaking to the amendment first, I'm just not sure because it was pretty clear when it was directed to rural directors that it comes out of the S101. So does this then mean it would come out of S100?
It's not currently indicating what service it comes out of.
So that's where adding municipal makes it a little different, I think, but in general, just to the comment to CRA, it's just because there's a threshold. 5,000 kilometers, you're expected you claim a certain rate, and over 5,000, it's a lesser rate that you can claim. That's where the CRA reference comes in, not whether they'll accept it or not.
Okay,
It's just the amount.
and just to clarify, this motion does not have a service associated with it regardless on the amendment. So we're not talking what service this comes from. We'll just leave that for now. There's actually a formula based on what goes where, so we'll just leave that. Jackman,
Not on the amendment.
it's okay, we got so much going on, just go.
I really wanted to point out the CRA thing.
Okay, done.
I drove 47,000 kilometers last year.
Okay.
Not for work necessarily, but 40,000 buses been typical to construction sites and consulting sites. So I've never been able to use this 70 cents or whatever it is right now. I track actual cost of running the vehicle. I run my vehicles for 12 to 20 cents a kilometer for many years, never bought a new car, for finance, bought cash. Couldn't take advantage of all those perks and twerks and whatever the heck is there. So you directors coming on have to understand that if they're seriously running a business, it involves like me a lot of travel, average 175 kilometers a day sometimes. If you work out how many sites I went to, East Kootenay, wherever across the province, that's got to be part of the onboarding of new directors. It's not so simple. You're not going to get 70 cents a kilometer wherever you go if you're running a business. It's a whole different world. You might get 20, 25, 30.
But I already spoke.
Okay.
Hannah Graf for the first
I
time.
don't think I had anything. I was maybe second.
Okay, Weatherhead for the second time.
Thank you, through the chair. So just for clarity, my understanding was this is mileage within your area. This is just mileage within your area. Am I correct on that?
Well, if you're adding in all directors, then that accounts for the fact that municipal directors are traveling outside of their area for their shared services, economic development, whatnot. So
Yeah.
it would be traveling to an RD required meeting.
Okay, thank you. Through the chair, then I don't support that, but I would support a different motion aside from this one, after this one, that would allow those municipal directors just to claim those one-offs committee meetings when as required, completely aside from this first motion that Director Hanegraaff or the committee put forward.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Lund for the close on the amendment, and then we'll take the vote on the amendment. And then we'll finish this motion and then we're taking a break. Lund, go ahead.
Sure. After hearing the discussion, and not knowing what service it's allocated, I can see how it complicates things. I do think So I having proposed the amendment, I'm sort of leaning towards opposition because it's pretty.
Just withdraw it if you want to oppose it. If you want to take it off, you can take it off.
Okay, I'll take it off. Yeah.
Who is the second?
Me.
Okay.
I don't think you should take it off.
Okay, never mind. We'll call the vote on it.
Call the vote.
On the amendment, all those in favor? 1, 2. Motion amendment fails. Back to the original motion. Yes,
Just for clarity, I've heard the conversation move around quite a bit on this. This pertains only to board activity.
No, board activity is paid for with expenses. This is related to, you're asked as a director to go and attend a hall meeting that is not related to the RD. That's what this pertains to. Stuart.
Through the chair, CBT ready grants is a perfect example of something that would qualify for this.
Okay, it's not very clear in that.
So we're going to finish this motion and we're gonna take a break.
Through the chair, as long as staff has the intent of the motion, we are bringing back amendments to the remuneration bylaw that will be very specific in terms of how this rolls out. So as long as we've got direction through this motion and staff understands what that direction is, this motion doesn't necessarily need to include every aspect of how it might be applied. We'll bring back the amendments to the bylaw for your consideration, and you can make any changes if you want to add additional detail to the bylaw.
Okay. Director Lund, can you mute, please? Needs to be said.
Yeah, just really, we specifically didn't list what this would cover because every time you start doing that, there's something you forget.
Okay.
And so we trust the directors to be responsible around claiming mileage, which is in fact taxpayers' dollars. So that's why it's written the way it is.
Motion is back to its original intent. The amendment failed. All those in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Those opposed? 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, motion passes. Okay, folks, we're gonna take a break and then I'm gonna discuss with the executive. We do know there's other motions. I'm gonna recommend those come forward at the next meeting because we have a lot of other business.
So it's not clear.
Forty minutes. Ridiculous. Can't take more. We can't do this.
LOL.
I should probably.
So you're loose.
In session, directors, we are aware that there's other motions directors would like to propose. However, given we're an hour and a half into this meeting and we have a lot to cover, we are going to request that you submit those motions for the board meeting next month in advance, so they're published, not a part of the agenda. And if there's multiple that are the same, we will, the executive will work with staff to put those into sections on the motion, on the agenda. Okay? So bring forward those for next month. We do need to move on at this point. Very important discussion. Okay, good. All right, so we are on 3.1.2. Director, do you have to make a motion?
Yes, that the board approved the RDCK enter into an operational and maintenance agreement with the village of Castle for the operation and maintenance of the McDonald Creek Water Service for the period of 5 years, beginning May 1st, 2026, and that the chair of the officer of the office to sign necessary document.
I'll second that one. Discussion?
Should it have the service number in there or a service number in there? Oh, didn't we do?
It'd be the McDonald Creek Water Service, but
Can have that.
we can have that. Amber?
That was my question of 32, and also it would have some sort of value attached to that.
It's in the contract.
Okay, I'll trust you.
It's probably attached to the agenda.
No.
It's yeah.
And, but the service clarity is appreciated as well.
Yeah. Would we normally have the number in there? Yeah, it's not. The utility rates are paid by the residents. So it's not a financial contract, it's a service.
But it's an operation and maintenance agreement.
Sure, can please explain.
Of the water supply. The operation and maintenance and the capital maintenance are kind of are a shared service between the RD and the village. So there's certain responsibilities for operating the system. The RDCK taxes for it. And tax the residents for it who pay for it, but there's no exchange of funds between the village and the RDCK.
The village does bill the residents' utility rates, which goes to operations.
They built, right? Okay.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Anybody opposed? Recorded opposed?
Yes, please.
Ordered opposed, yeah. Area A, go ahead, Dr. Dockman.
All vote and move the Rec 9 grants be approved as per agenda.
Second. Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Area E, is that you, Dr. Graham? I don't know if that's a shared service or not. Go ahead.
That the board sent a letter to developers, senior citizens association, just outlining that the requirements for the Rec 9 or Recreation number 10 grant application process and operating meeting with director Graham.
So you're amending.
It was amended at the meeting. That's the amended motion that passed with the committee.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Yep.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, carried, and you have another motion there.
That the board approved the following grant, Rec 10, person area E as listed.
Second, thank you, Jackman, discussion. All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Passenger and district community complex records, take care of that one. Hannah Graf, go ahead.
I'll move motion as presented.
Do we have a second? Thank you, McFadden, discussion.
Sorry, I just want a clarifying question.
Go for it.
Okay, my question is, if this is an ongoing event every year, is it necessary to bring this to the board every year? Is there any way that we can get this?
Craig, go ahead.
Through the chair, this is about Powell Creek.
Yes.
Yeah, so the document, the agreement that for the special events required is coming back to the board. But we did have the conversation about how we could get this through for a multiple number of years, so we'll be working on that, bring it back to the commission.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Perhaps advisors, Community Director, go ahead.
I'll go with the first one, that the board approve an amendment to the 2026 financial plan for service S224 recreation facility, Preston areas B and C in area A to increase grant specified by $5,000, increase transfer from reserve by $45,000, increase capital expenditures by $50,000.
Thank you, Jackson. Discussion? You're on track. All those in favor? Opposed, carried.
Second is that the board approve an amendment to the 2026 financial plan for service S201 regional parks, Preston areas B and C to decrease contribution to reserves by $60,000, increase transfer from reserves by $40,000, and increase capital expenditures by $100,000.
Tierney, second. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, carried.
Number three, that the board approve the RDCK for a 3-year agreement with Preston Blue Horizon Senior Society for non-exclusive use of the Rotorcrest Hall commencing on June 1st, 2026 and ending May 31st, 2029, and that the board chair and corporate officer be authorized to execute the agreement.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you. REH New Denver Silverton Rec Commission, who's the chair of that one? Go ahead, Bob.
I'm not the chair, but I will move the motions.
Okay, is the chair not here? Okay, go ahead.
Okay, that the board approve the payment of the following grants from rec number 6 service 229-2026 budget, and the grants are as stated in that
Do we have a second?
recommendation.
Thank you, Director Gordon. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed, carried.
And I'll move the second recommendation that the board open the Recreation Commission number 6 New Denver Silverton and area service number 229 fall grant intake on August 1st, 2026 and close it on September 14th, 2026. And further, that the board directs staff to submit an ad in the Valley Voice before August 7th, 2026. Deadline to appear in the August 13th publication, and that the staff are to prepare the grant applications for the commission by September 18th, 2026. And those are pretty good dates.
Do we have a second? Thank you. And just clarifying, this is not in line with our elections timeline. Normally we can grants out for August. This is outside of them.
Through the chair, if I may answer that one.
Through the chair, this is a commission grant, it wouldn't fall that.
Okay, great, thank you.
Exactly what I was gonna say.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Oh, participants only, thank you. Which is Silverton, H, and New Denver. Oh, Casey's not here, okay. Sorry. Gordon and Popoff, you're good? Good, okay. Either of you opposed? No, you moved it, that's, we're good. Okay, memberships and appointments, this is all one motion. Vandenberg, go ahead.
4.1.
You're on 3.2.
Oh, never mind.
Oh,
I will wait.
Okay. 3.2 has been moved as indicated in the agenda. Do we have a second? Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, correspondence. I will speak to 4.2. 4.1, Director Vandenberg would like to speak to. Okay, so let's jump in the discussion on 4.1. Vandenberg, go ahead.
Great, thank you through the chair. What I don't have a problem with, but the intent is here, but it's not clear. Where's the funding coming from?
This would be through our discretionary grants for development. There's no service this would be associated with, correct?
Thank you.
So it's up to us to tell them they could apply by our own grants. Go ahead, Director Boone.
I know we're not deciding on this today, but I just want to give you some context, and I'm opposed to this amount. I would support a much smaller amount. And I have, based on my own experience, but I also consulted one of the local conservation officers on this yesterday to get updated clarity. Number one, they speak of boat safety and they speak of angler checks. Conservation officers do boat safety all the way up to impaired. Conservation officers do angler checks. RCMP do not currently have the equipment to do angler checks because the licenses are electronic. They need specialized equipment that they don't have, so they cannot do angler checks. They can jump on the boat with the conservation officer anytime, and they can prearrange those patrols anytime. There are 2 excellent boats that work on Kootenay. So what they're asking for is something they can do in a much different way, by a little bit of pre-organizing. They wouldn't need that much of a request for funding. And so I would say, if we're gonna fund this, we should go no higher than 25%. Let them work out with the agencies that do most of the boat work on Kootenay to provide the extra service, because the only extra service that they need to do is maybe impaired boat. They can also do that in combination with the existing agencies that work on that.
So just to clarify, there's no service that we would be approving as a board. This would be up to you as an individual director to say, please apply to my community and or discretionary grants. That would be what you could follow up on should you choose to. Okay. No,
Board's going to respond to.
not unless you make a motion to, I wouldn't respond to it because I don't know who might be coming forward with grants next month. That would be the response. And also, we've said it right now. They are online. They can also choose to come as a delegation if they want to clarify and emphasize anything they're asking for, and they can apply through our delegation process.
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else on 4.1? 4.2, just to let you know that I will be seeking a motion to support this, but not until next month. We have accepted them as a delegation next month, so I think it'd be important for the board to hear from them. This has been an active campaign for over a decade, and similar to the Rosebud one, however, this would be closer to, this is a provincial park, so that's where it kind of had a regional approach. But given the Rosebud discussion and the questions I heard around advocacy and how does that work, I did encourage them to come as a delegation, so we're working here from them directly. So I refer this letter to next month and then it'll be attached to my motion. Okay, I have a motion to refer this one to next month. Second discussion. Oh, referral. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. And they do have an active website if you want to look at it in advance. Village of Slocan, Slocan Mill Site Security Issue. Director Lund, do you want to move that?
Sure, I'll move that the Corporation of the Village of Slocan Mill Site Property Security Issuing be read a first, second, and third time by content.
We have a second. Thank you. Pop-off discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And the next one for adoption.
I'll move that the Corporation of the Village of Slocan Mill Site Property Security Issuing be adopted and the chair and corporate officer be authorized to sign the same.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay. 5.2, we don't need a ratification motion. So let's just receive for information. This was the email vote. 6.1.1 facility condition assessments. We do will be a regular. Is Carolyn around?
Just through the chair. Carolyn's in the room virtually, but the resolution should read that the expenses are paid from contracted services, not from reserves. That's budgeted for in contracted services in 8122, not in reserves.
Okay, so when we move the motion, we're going to move it with that change. Would anyone like to move the motion or ask a question, Jackman?
I'll move it.
Do we have a second? Thank you. And you got that correction?
Sorry, contracted.
Services. Contracted services.
Excellent, yeah.
discussion, Jackson, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Staff had to come up with some kind of a budget allocation, and I know that the public library and the single 5 libraries we fund out of that service. The single building that we own is a budget of $20,000 for this exercise, 10% of the total. That building is not 10% of the footprint. It does not have 10% of the doors and windows. It doesn't have 10% of the mechanical system. So the question is, will the consultants actually timely allocating building by building and the amount taken from each of these services to repay the adjusted accordingly?
Yeah, through the chair, we'll track the actual hours put to each facility, and then that'll go back to the 120,000 as per the budget. The other conversation that I had with the CFO was that the money budgeted for the transfer 2A122 will be right sized once the contract clears, and then the transfers will be commensurate with that.
And follow up then also. So, and there is going to be some kind of common tasks and templating and that kind of stuff. And that I would suggest that staff provide direction on how to prorate those common costs as the consultant first enters the project. How to prorate those costs and not just to assume this split for their front end costs.
Yeah, through the chair, we'll do our best to make sure that we're balancing the work done for each facility so that it's properly accounted for.
Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Financial plan amendment, Regional Parks Nelson Samo EFNG, we'd like to do that motion.
That the board approve an amendment to the 2026 financial plan for the service S202 Regional Parks Nelson Samo in areas E, F, and G to increase grant revenue specified by 50,000 and increase capital expenditures by 50,000.
Second. Thank you, discussion. Fran, go ahead, and then Lockwood.
So thank you. So through the chair to staff, we were a little confused about where the money is coming from.
Through the chair, this was through the purchase of this property and the ongoing work to get it ready to be a regional park, and certainly with the dam work that's required through the dam safety officer in British Columbia. We made an application through the community work for $200,000 for area G. That's been sent through and approved, and so the 50,000 in the report that mentions the community works fund is part of that $200,000.
So funded by a community works.
Correct.
Lockwood, you were also on the list.
Yes, through the chair to staff, I'm wondering if we can. Do we have to do this right now?
Through the chair, this is time sensitive, and the dam safety officer we have compliance date of December 31st.
Oh. Then supplemented, then if December 31st is our deadline, then this could be discussed at our June meeting. And the reason I ask is because I'm questioning, as that was a built dam that was out of experience, is do we remove the dam so that expense? Are we allowed to remove the dam? So that's why I'm asking if this motion can be put to June 10th meeting, if it's not time sensitive that it has to be done this month.
Well, through the chair, I think the time sensitivity and SRK work that have to be done between now and June 10th, and then the next board cycle, which is a month from today, essentially a month from today. I'm not sure where that puts us for the December 31st deadline. It's possible.
Can I propose that, given you can move this motion and still discuss it on June 10th, and then work with SRK on any changes, that you have that option and stop us going forward? Perfect. Okay. You good, Carrie, or do you have anything? Go ahead if you want to move.
Yeah, thank you. Just through the chair. So the time sensitivity in this is that it will take, at least 6 months to 8 months, possibly a little bit longer to get this done. So I think the time sensitivity is to reach the dam safety officer's requirement of it being completed and handed in by December 31st. The timeline is actually sort of a few weeks ago or a month ago that this should have started. So there is time sensitive in actually getting this completed and done before the December 31st deadline by the provincial dam safety. So again, this is part of all of the things that we had put forth in our reports in the past of the things that we had to get done. And again, the amount to get this is just bringing over the $50,000 from community works funding, which has already been approved for the work that we brought forth originally.
Thank you, Carrie. Further discussion? Are you opposed to the motion or are you good with it?
I'm opposed to the motion just because it doesn't make my, I'm not as written, I'm opposed to the comment, because basically, the province has already said we can't drain the lake because that would be the end of the turtles. And of course, it's all done under environmental reasons.
Okay. You might want to have it, you might want to have a discussion at your June 10th meeting. That would be my recommendation. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Let's see. Yeah, the second one. Sorry, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, the board directs staff to amend the existing consulting services agreement for SRK Consulting, contract number, etc., to expand the scope of the dam assessment service to include Rosebud Lake with the total additional authorization not to exceed $100,000.
Second. Thank you. Cunningham, discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Regional Park Enhancement Program. Tricia, are you here for Tricia?
Through the chair, I am.
Okay, well, right. Really good report in terms of what is proposed for the first phase. Do we have questions or are we ready for a motion?
I'll move it.
Thank you, Director Page. Do we have a second? Thank you. Any discussion? Jack?
Yeah. The amounts are fairly rough, I guess, like probably 50 or 60,000 for something. Retail concession, 25,000. Part of the work that's proposed might be made by a community group, the community association. So if things start to come over budget, is that deducted from the year phase 2 or these caps? That if things come over budget for what's allocated, it's going to come out of each individual regional park service.
Through the chair, the year one list is between $722,000 and $729,000, depending on what's actually the report you read. The funding is $550,000 received for year one, so there is a refinement of that list, and we do have to still establish feasibility for each of those projects listed, whether they're actually doable in the first year, and then they would carry over into year 2 if there was no funding in 2026 for this. We would utilize the extra funding in 2027. To do those projects.
So this won't necessarily come back. But make the best have in year 1 and then carry on to year 2 funding.
Through the chair, we'll bring back the list of projects for year 2, including those that are carried forward and couldn't get done. So we'll bring back year 2 list back to the board.
Thank you, Director Davidoff. Go ahead.
Yes, question through the chair to staff. We have funds allocated $100,000, 85,000 of which is through our service S222, which is our one of our rec services in Cascarn District. Could we offset the costs of the work to the Glade Regional Park through this program and do it in year 2 or something like that? Could we apply for that? Because right now we're funding it through ratepayers, but could we offset that cost with a year 2 grant? Would that qualify?
Yeah, through the chair, if those improvements or enhancements meet the criteria established by the CBT, we could consider them.
Okay, that would be next year's, but next year's, can staff take a note of that, please, and communicate with the rec commission to say that that's something that will be looked at, or do we need to put it on an agenda at our next CDRC meeting?
The chair will consider that project for year 2.
Thank you, Chair.
Further discussion on the motion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, 6.2.1 Burton Water Main Replacement Project. Go ahead, Director Weatherhead.
Thank you. I'd like to move that motion.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And you want to do your next one? Oh, this is several. Sorry, this would be West Resources. Yeah, sorry, I'll go over to Paul.
Yeah, I'll move that recommendation of the board direct staff to award a contract for the Edgewood, Burton, Roseberry transfer station civil work to Arrow Lakes Aggregates Limited, and that chair and corporate officer be authorized to sign the necessary documents at a maximum value of $110,629.50. GST, and further that funds be drawn from refuse disposal list sub-region service S180.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Erickson. Tierney, go ahead.
Chair, the move the recommendation that the board direct staff to award the contract to the Erickson Water System residential contract package. Contract award to Valhalla Hydrovac Limited. The chair and corporate officer be authorized to sign the necessary documents to a maximum value of $349,848 plus GST, and further that the funds paid from service 250 S250 water utility area B and C.
Go to seconds. Thank you. Discussion. Jackman.
I think this is the point you really have to know how effective the 5 phases has been. We've attracted repeat bidders, bidders working concurrently, overlapping. This is really worked well. Like the project management, pre-purchasing, everything on this, exactly how you have to do it. Somebody should go to Interior Health and tell them how to run programs.
We'll capture that one in a minute.
It's the same.
Further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And Bouquier.
Happy, I'll wait till you call me.
Yeah, I did. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay.
I called you Bouquier.
Thank you.
Weatherhead, I'm sorry.
Thank you. I'll move that motion. Thanks.
Do we have a second? Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Wes Robson.
I move that the board award the West Robson Water Main Replacement Project to Copcan Holdings Limited, and that the chair and corporate officer be authorized to sign the necessary documents to a maximum value of $99,795 plus GST, and further the costs of the cost for the project be paid from reserves associated with water utility West Robson Service S256.
Is there a second? Thank you, McFadden. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And financial plan amendment for Erickson, to you, Tierney, or other?
Thank
Go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. The board approved amendment to the 2026 financial plan for water utility area BC Erickson Service S250 to increase capital expenses by $70,000. Increase transfer from reserves by $75,000 and increase transfer to other services by $5,000.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 6.2.7 MFA borrowing for resource recovery fleet vehicle. Do we have a motion, discussion, or move it?
I will move it.
Thank you. Do we have a second? That discussion, Van Ember? Go ahead.
Thank you. Just curious, is this not already under budget and it's approved, and or is this additional? Why is it separated?
Through the chair, it is in the budget, it's approved. MFA requires this motion in order to execute the borrowing. So it's in the budget to borrow, everything is lined up, but this motion needs to be passed by the board in order for MFA to allow us to borrow the funds. So this is very administrative.
Supplemental.
Yeah.
Then I'm to learn that anything to do with MFA requires this step. All right, thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. 6.3.1 project prioritization matrix. Stuart, do you want to speak to this before we start?
Through the chair, so this is the first draft presentation, like all of the board policies that come forward. It's simply being asked to be received for information today and looking for feedback by June 1st. Since I've put this on the agenda, I've already seen some items that I want to tweak and make changes to. The senior management team's looking through it as well, so there could be some tweaks as we move forward. But please, when you send your feedback in, please take a look at the categories, scoring system. And I think the one thing to note is that, sometimes we look at something like this and say, are we ranking projects that either will or won't get done? And that's not the purpose of this. The purpose of this is to ensure that the expectations of the board are being met, and that expectation gap between what staff is working on and what the board thinks we're working on is as small as possible. So that when we're bringing forward results of projects that we're working on and bring the reports forward to the board, when a report shows up, yes, I was expecting that one to come first as opposed to this previous project, which I know was ranked lower, and we'll see it next month, next year, whenever that might be. So it's not to say it's a matrix to say what won't get done. It's in what order will it get done. Not to say the board, again, in the report, the board's got the right to override the results of the matrix if you wanted to. It's not something that could ever be completely binding.
So today I've got David off on the list where we do have a motion. We don't necessarily need it, but it's just helpful for tracking, essentially saying that we would be seeking director feedback in the discussion today, but primarily via email to staff, and that they'll bring it back next month. Okay, David off, go ahead.
Yeah, a question to the CAO through the chair. Is June 1st a little tight? Like if maybe June 15th, give us a little more time, or not? Through the chair to the CAO.
Through the chair, it's at the board's discretion, but June 15th would mean it's not coming till July.
Did you hear the answer?
I did. Yeah, I don't know if anyone else thinks it's tight, but it seems tight to me. Those of us that are really busy, it seems really tight. Okay, I will leave it as is.
Thank you. Further, I have who was one? Lockwood, go ahead.
Just a question is, who are we sending the information to? Director CAO or thanks.
Director David Opp, can you mute? Oh, thank you so very much. Further discussion? Yeah, I've submitted my feedback, and I think it's something we discussed actually, I believe the last term as well. It helps this table be more clear about our priorities in terms of those we bring forward as directors, and how to weight those where we're not saying, I really like Diana, let me help her. Like, we need to have a more structured focus. So that's really the purpose of this. And also, our work plan is significant. How do we help staff help us make clear decisions on priorities? So I really appreciate this.
I'll move it.
Thank you. Seconded, McFadden. Everyone's clear, information goes to Stuart, just making sure I know that in the room we saw that. Further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Delegated authority bylaw. Really good report. It was great. This is one of the action items, not only this was on the list for quite some time, but in terms of the work we did, what was that called? With organizational review. Thank you so much. They identified this, so this is one of the things that has come forward. We have Mike in the room. Do we have questions? Are we ready for a motion?
Move it.
Moved.
Not seconded.
Okay, it's on the floor. You're on discussion.
Yes.
Go ahead, Director Popoff, and then Vandenberg. And sorry, was there another hand on this side I saw? Okay, go ahead, Popoff.
Okay, yeah, I'm looking at the list there. It's quite comprehensive list. And from what I understand, some of those are already delegated, and some that will be delegated into bylaw. So what I would like to, rather than going back and doing all the research, what we have delegated in the past and what they're authorized to do, and what do we want to do in the future. And I like that shown in red line or blue line or whatever line it says, what have we already done as a delegation that we delegated the authority to our staff to do, and what do we propose to go on in the future?
Michael.
Through the chair, there's a section in the report that outlines sort of the historic approach to delegation and what, we have authority delegated to staff in a number of different bylaws. Most of those ones are specific to different parts of our business. So say, for instance, through the resource recovery regulation bylaw, that empowers staffing for certain things related to that business. But the general and sort of comprehensive delegation of authority for a lot of things that aren't attached to a specific part of our business, in part have been assumed by staff to be there, And so including them in the bylaws is really just a way of complying with that section of the Local Government Act that requires the delegation to be by bylaw. So that's one thing that we're hoping to address. Another thing is that several of the existing authorities have been delegated through policies, which is, you know, clear direction to staff, but it's not in accordance with the Local Government Act. So we'll say, for instance, a good example of that would be purchasing authorities are currently included in our purchasing policy, but those should be definitely in bylaw. So what we're attempting to do here is we're not going to be addressing the authorities that are already delegated by bylaw. The list that you see before was really about where the gaps are, and those things that are listed sort of track closely to the sort of 4 areas that we've identified that we want to address within the content of the new bylaw. So it's meant to be comprehensive. We're cleaning things up. We've identified parts of our business where there currently isn't delegated authority, but where there should be. And you know, there's things that are general administration, HR, a lot of things that are assumed to be part of the CAO role that haven't been formally written down. Those are the kind of things that we'd like to delegate. And again, all of this is at the board's discretion. We'll be providing a draft bylaw, which includes what we feel is appropriate, but there will be a review and comment period where the board can and discussion about what powers and authorities the board actually wish to delegate and at which level they wish to delegate.
So I'm not sure if I fully understand what Manager Morrison has said, is we're gonna get a proposed bylaw, something that we have not already delegated by other bylaws, is that correct? To the chair.
To the chair, that is correct, yes.
Okay, so supplemental again, are we gonna get something that we have already delegated, the bylaws that are mentioned that already exist? For information?
I think it's in the report. It's listed in the report, what is already delegated. This will address what is not delegated or is not appropriately delegated by a bylaw.
Yeah, through the chair, I had hoped to do a deeper dive into existing delegated authorities. Again, those ones that are in the bucket of being attached to specific parts of the business, but that would require a review of a lot of different bylaws that I didn't have time to do as part of this. But again, those are specific parts of our, you know, those are specific parts of our business that we have delegated authorities to, and they're not in scope. This is really meant to be the bylaw that captures things that aren't included in other bylaws already. And I've mentioned in the report a few examples of parts of our business where we have delegated authority. There's more bylaws than have been mentioned there, but those are sort of beyond the scope of the review here. This is really about authorities that haven't been delegated that should be.
And that's what I didn't understand through the chair, and I'm glad that he explained it a little bit or whatever, because I know I've been around for quite a few years and some of the bylaws are there and I have to go back and take a look at them. So I'd like to see the overall picture, if possible.
I think that would take significant work to address, and what will come forward is what is not addressed at this time. Mike?
Through the chair, I can build that out a little bit further, you know, going to things that have been you know, addressed through our water services bylaw, our development charges and fees bylaws. There's a number of different things, but those, you know, it's very specific authority for managers to do or sign certain documents, things like that. It's pretty granular what's included in those bylaws, but I can bring that back. I'll take note of that and bring that back with the bylaws so you can see where the proposed delegation of authority lands in relation to authorities that have already been delegated.
Okay.
Thank you.
Paige?
Would it be fair to say that after the establishment of this delegation authority bylaw, that as we do additional updates on some of these service bylaws, we would start to take out names and put titles and shift those delegations into the authority delegation bylaw to clean it up over time? Or case by case?
Through the chair, I think the current model is appropriate, you know, so take, for example, the research recovery regulatory bylaw. The authorities that are delegated in that are very specific to that part of our business. We sort of use that as the guidance. The staff uses that as the guidance as to what they can do in relation to managing that specific service, and it doesn't make sense to do all of our delegated authorities within a single bylaw, but a comprehensive delegated authority bylaw, which really focuses more on the administration of the organization. Those authorities should be bundled together, and that's our intent with this bylaw.
Yep, thanks.
McFadden. Great, through the chair, with all respect to my colleague who wants more work done on understanding all these things, and I get the reasons why. I don't want you to go do more work on that. I actually think it's a waste of your time. And so I don't know how we deal with those kind of conversations around the table where there's 20 of us that may have different needs, and if only one singular director might need more information. I think that some of this and some of that organizational review stuff came up with how do we stop bogging down staff and moving things quicker and becoming more efficient, and us as directors have to take some ownership over that. So not that you want to make another director feel bad, but I think it's important that we do state that saying, hey, this is something we disagree on. I don't need more information. I don't actually want you to spend more time on that. That's a waste of, for me, not effective use of your time. So I would say waste because any information for a director is different. So that's a wrong word to use, but I don't feel like that's the most effective use of your time. So going back to the matrix, going back to this and some of I appreciate staff trying to clean up so that we're more efficient as a regional district. And this is kind of an example of that, where I think we could give you a lot more work to do on something that is trying to make us more efficient, but in the process of trying to make us more efficient, we become bogged down to try and become more efficient. So I don't know where that lands of how we direct staff to not do more work. If I actually need to make a motion, so we actually decide as a table, do I want you to do more work? But I'll let the chair decide, like, how do we make sure that staff around this table doesn't get direction from a singular director that's going to take up their time, and that we have consensus. Because if I get outvoted and there's a consensus that people want that, I'm totally fine with that. Right. But I want to make sure that it's not, that there is consensus around the table for what work we're putting on staff's plate. Sure.
Through the chair, I think for an informal request, we would read the room, Mike and I might talk about to see how much work we'd actually put into it. If it gets to the point where directors are back and forth in terms of something that could be significant, then I might suggest that the board vote on a direction to staff as to whether or not you want to do that work. But right now, I'd say that based on the few comments around it, but the two sides of the coin, Mike and I would sit down and say, what are we looking at here? Could you get 80% of it done in half an hour? Yeah, okay, we'll spend that half an hour, get the 80% done, and that's good enough.
I think it also leads to when we get the next iteration of this and those details, if that then comes up as we need more information, that would continue the process. But at this point, it's really the CEO working with the CEO to say, what are you going to include and how do we make this efficient and get to the goal? They'll put you on the list. Graham.
Thank you. So through the chair and reading through this report, the one thing that kind of doesn't sit that great with me is not the work itself, it's the timeline proposed. That it's going to be drafted an initial review by July, and then it's gonna be like, it seems like it's getting forced through before the election. So I think that there would be a benefit to, like, it seems like it's jumping ahead of other things that are on the list. And I don't know why, like it's that important, it has to go above all the things, like, and it's going back to the prioritization that we just talked about, like, and this is one of the things that sort of always, like, how does this now become more important than the other 30 things that might be in this, on the list already for this department? So that's sort of one thing. And just forcing it through before the election is also something that's not sitting right with me. And I think it would be possibly a benefit to the next board to have something like this come after the election so that they could get a better understanding of what the delegated authority is, as opposed to us ramming it through before the election. So those are just my comments and thoughts. Stuart.
So through the chair, and Director Granford, you might have missed the meeting where Connie had brought forward a summary of the work plan from coming out of the organizational review, where this was prioritized for 2026. So we did present to the board how we were going to approach the results of the org review. It was in the context of taking the consulting costs for 2026 out of the budget related to the org review, and then presenting a plan for 2027. So this work is pretty critical to bring that second phase. I think the comment I'll make on the new board is I think it would be more beneficial for the new board to come in and know exactly what's been delegated to staff by this board who's been in their chairs for a minimum of 4 years and many longer than that, that have made that decision based on their experience to say, yes, we are comfortable with staff taking the responsibility on us. And then we have a document to present to them during orientation to say, here's the delegated authority that staff has. And of course, at that time, that new board is free to suggest changes to it if they wish.
It's supplemental because I didn't see that in the report that was going to be part of this, that it would be something that would be explained. So that's where I missed that.
Yes, through the chair, I think that would be a very important part of orientation, that any delegated authorities are made known to the directors, particularly ones that aren't, necessarily recommended under legislation or any kind of other, we do have some that from either a legal perspective or just general practice that shouldn't sit with the board because they don't have that subjectivity to it. They really are box checks and they just have to meet certain criteria. So it really is beneficial for the board to keep that political debate out of the conversation because it could just put you at risk. So I think it's important to know for the board to know which ones have been delegated staff and which staff.
Lockwood. Thank you. And through the chair, thank you very much for all this information and all this work that you have already done. On page 4, out of the first line, it does say that we've already done a lot of this work. It's through policy, as the manager Mike said. I'm wondering if there's any way in the bylaw to be able to help anybody that is looking at this from the outside, or even anybody that's sitting here that may have not have a full understanding what is being changed, that in the bylaw that it's when it's redlined and the authority that we've already given in many policies, that it's stated what of the dots is. And the reason I say that is because right above it, it says, but this list is not exhaustive and a draft bylaw may include other items. So that brings our eyes to what else might be added to it, instead of having another great big debate, what else was added?
Following that?
Yeah, through the chair, my intention would be that the report that accompanies the draft bylaw will address those things and identify where things are moved that may not be included. But this is the new bylaw, so we won't have a red line version of the existing one to mark out.
Okay, thank you.
Jackman.
Yeah, thanks. Stuart addressed most of my thoughts. This is absolutely the time to do this. So many things have changed that I'm astounded the amount of money we spend on contracting, purchasing and stuff like that, and the number of things that cycle back to us for a double check. It's in the budget. We have the money, we've gone through the proper tendering process. We don't need to hear about that stuff, that alone. And 30 plus years ago, as a federal employee, I could award a $3 million contract without talking to anybody because it was in my budget on scope. I could award a $200,000 change order to a sole one price. We are so far behind the times in terms of allowing the competent people, and we have checks and balances. We either have a senior manager, or we have a purchasing agent, or we have a CFO to verify that we're on target. We are way behind the times in terms of efficiency, just pushing stuff through. We set what we want to see happen. We set a budget, staff, go do it. So absolutely, we need to do this now. And a lot of stuff we see every time, we just don't need to see. I can see a local conversation maybe with the director involved that they want to stay abreast of what's happening with this or that contract. Other than that, it's not a board issue. So please do it by this fall.
Vandenberg.
Thank you through the chair. So originally I thought maybe you're requesting feedback with all these suggestions and thoughts and ideas, but I understand that we have a 1 month comment period after July in which to comment on potential bylaw because it'll be inserted into a bylaw. So my question is more fundamental. This is an opportunity to move policies into a bylaw setting. And so what is the advantage of something staying in a policy versus getting moved to a bylaw? When would you do that and why?
Through the chair, through raises a good point around policy versus bylaw, but in this case, the Local Government Act requires that authority for specific decisions be delegated by bylaw. So historically, we've been doing a lot of these by policy, and they really should be in a bylaw to remove any ambiguity and any, question around the board's intent that this be a staff decision. So again, it's in the legislation, so we should be doing it this way.
And can you clarify the difference between policy and bylaw, one's regulatory, one's guidance?
Yeah, essentially just that, a bylaw is a regulation and the discretion to apply it is less than with policy, which is more of a guidance document. Again, where the line is drawn between those in each circumstance is movable, but they are different documents.
If I may,
Yes.
so that's an important piece of distinction. A guidance document is different than regulatory. So that when we do look at this in the future, we have that. Are there gonna be instances where you're gonna take a guidance document and for efficiency, just move it into a bylaw and we'll be able to see the difference? That sort of thing. I don't know how deep you want to go with this. That's why I'm asking the questions now.
Good question, and I'll use as a point of example, say purchasing policy, right? So the purchasing policy has a lot of guidance to staff and a lot of direction around how to do procurement and different things and different requirements and where financial plan amendments may be triggered. But the heart of the policy is really those purchasing limits, and that the authority that goes along with making purchasing decisions is the only part of that policy that really needs to be in a bylaw. That is a specific direction from the board that a manager at this level has this amount of purchasing authority, and beyond that, it is the board's purview to the board. So currently, it's at $75,000, and we have to bring anything over $75,000 to the board, which is, as Director Jackman noted, way out the line of best practices in all our jurisdictions. The other parts of the purchasing policy will remain in policy, and that is what staff use on a day-to-day basis to determine how they do the purchasing bit. So there's a number of examples of delegated authority that we're proposing in the bylaw, and it's really just about the authority to make those decisions. But a lot of these things will also have policy or internal guidelines that support how they're implemented. Is that
Still play with one another.
Through the chair, just so staff can, or people online can hear. Good? Okay. Papa for the second time?
Yeah, just a comment that was made by my colleague or whatever. A lot of this delegation applies to rural areas, rural directors. So I don't have another order of government to go back and use the sounding board. This is basically a rural director is the mayor and the council, etc. So when we delegate authority to staff to do certain things, and I do agree with Director Jackman about things that are already in the budget, etc. So just a comment.
Thank you. Okay, motion's been moved and seconded. This is direct staff to prepare a draft delegated authority bylaw, and I'll seek legal review and I'll come back to us. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Okay, we have about 6 minutes before public time, so I'm gonna go ahead with the ready grants, assuming everybody's reviewed their proposed allotments, and we have been corrected a few on our end. Would someone like to make the motion? Thank you, Hewitt. Seconded Jackman. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Financial plan amendment for Goat River. Oh, Monique. Thank you, Monique. That was a lot of work. So sorry, we don't do that enough. Good to see you. Thank you. Financial plan amendment for Goat River Residents Association. Who would like to move that motion? Move Tierney, second. Vandenberg. I do know your
Other
name.
way around.
Okay. It's on the floor. Discussion. Tierney?
Yes, I'd just like to recognize Kelly's hard work. Director Vandenberg, he did a great job of this. The group had been dormant for a number of years, and the lines were blurred between Goat River Residents Association and Titan Authority. Kelly spent countless hours working with the group to have them understand their role. And particularly the money that we are moving today should be put back in the financial plan for the Goat River Residents Association for the purpose of hiking infrastructure maintenance only. Not for the Residents Association to spend on residents' issues. So happy to second it and thank you for all your hard work.
Thanks.
Each.
Yeah.
It was
You
a.
don't need to, but go ahead.
Oh, no, it was satisfying to work with a group of people who are well attended. But a lot of the stuff is kind of beyond them, and to help them pull it back and do their bylaws, constitution, financially, and more importantly, the residents of the area determine their tax increase via them approving the budget. So those were significant changes.
Good work. Thank you. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Municipal services agreement for the village of Nancus. Co.
I will make the motion as written.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And village of Selma.
Oh, yeah, as written, the village is on with the Fire Smart programming.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And I think we will now break. I'm anticipating temporary access. We might have more discussion. I want to respect public time. Thank you, Jesse. Late. I didn't see you come online. No questions at this time. Always good to see you, and thank you for all your work. I was just gonna say hi. Thanks, Jesse. Okay, so we will break now for public time. So we're going to start with those in the room. And if you would like to come up and state who you are, if you have a question for us and or a comment.
Good, thanks. Hi, I'm Mike Casper. I live in Area H. I want to talk about the prioritization matrix. So just very briefly, a little bit about me. I retired in 2017. And I was part of an organization with 230,000 people, and out of those 230,000 people, 2,500 were trainers. Out of those trainers, 70 were enterprise coaches. I'm one of those. And so our specialty and what we did for a living was to help large enterprises reorganize our portfolios to allow teams to be self-empowered. So that's why I'm here to speak. So I just want to remind everybody here, and I want to let everybody know I'm going to say some things that are maybe a little uncomfortable, but the intention is to have you discuss it amongst yourselves. And my goal here is to remind the board and how the board, what I'm here for. Okay? So I just want to remind everybody here that you're $100 million a year organization. 45.5 million of that is through property taxes. So this is a large enterprise here. And there's 20 board members. And I've noticed some things like on this agenda and through some of the past meetings, there's a real focus on the board becoming more efficient. And I understand there's a desire to do that. But I've got to remind you that you're directors of a $100 million organization. It's not your job to make the staff efficient. There's somebody here who has that job. Okay? So I want to let you know about a very specific thing on the prioritization matrix that I believe should concern all directors. And so first of all, I applaud it. I told the CIO I applaud this. So the staff deciding to reorganize the way they do their work and present something to the board and figure out how they're going to be more effective is an amazing idea. It's an amazing idea to bring it to the board so that it can be making decisions based on what's in there. But I would actually, there's some quirky things about it. There's specifically, if you go to the policy manual, it's number 100-01-22, which is the policy manual for the prioritization matrix. The first thing on here is a number of 0, 1, 2, or 3 on the strategic plan. So It looks very innocuous, it's not a big deal, but the board needs to realize that that means you only have a 4% input for each one of these numbers. So if something serious comes up and the board wants to change the direction, which should be their right, and it's also your obligation for what you do here, you only have a 4% input into the change of this plan. I would go so far as to say that shouldn't even be in here. Because as far as I'm concerned, if something's being done that's not a priority for the board, it shouldn't even be on here.
Mike, just so you know, it's usually 2 minutes. You're at 2 minutes. If you wanna.
Okay, just move on.
Thank
So I wanna remind you that it's 1/24. So if the board takes something here from a 1 to a 2, you're only increasing your ranking on this by 4%. And so that to me is a disempowerment of the board. And so you need to make sure you understand that's what's going on and you have a way to override it. Thanks.
Thank you, Mike. Sorry, I thought you had a lot more, so I'm
No,
just giving you a
no.
time note. Thank you so much.
Just through the chair, I will say that was one of the, I mentioned there's a few things that I wanted to change since it's been on the agenda. And the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 ranking and putting bigger gaps between those numbers to make a change in the ranking mean more is one of the things that I flagged, that the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 probably isn't the best way to approach it. That there should be bigger gaps. It should be whether it's 0, 2, 4, 6 or 0, 5, 10, 15, something that separates those. So that if you make a decision to move one, you actually make a significant change in that ranking. And it's not something that could be almost invisible with that change.
Thank you. You got 2 other folks in the audience. Do you want to come ask us a question or make a comment? No, you're good?
We're his bodyguards.
Oh. Thank you so much for attending. Is there anyone online and or the media? Would you like to unmute and ask us a question? You're free to do so now. Give it another moment. Christy Calder, if you are listening in this very moment, if you want to turn on your camera, we welcome seeing you as the new manager who, hi Christy.
Hi there,
Thanks.
how's it going?
Good.
Through the chair, as mentioned last month, Christie's taking over the position vacated by Tricia, moving into the GM position. So she's our new regional manager. Forgive me, Christy, I forget the actual title. Client services? Yeah.
Go ahead, Christy.
Yep, sorry, I'm having a hard time hearing here through the chair. Was that a question of what the position title is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It's Regional Manager of Recreation and Client Services.
Thank you, Christy. I got me that one. Welcome to the team. We're continuing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I don't have anyone else in terms of media or the public. So I think we'll keep going because we do have a big agenda. If that's all right, we're going to break at noon, of course, for our retirement lunch with St. Sudan. So we're on 6.4.3. This is a temporary access into evacuation order areas. We have a motion. We have Dan, are you here for Nora's Nora on the line?
Nora's also on line.
Okay, great. Oh, hi, Nora. There you are. Would anyone like to move the motion, ask a question? Paige. Moved. Second. Thank you. Discussion. Yes, Jackman.
We had a little conversation about what might be very impactful feedback required or requested by June 1st. Does this have to be June 1st? Because there's other stuff like prep for FC,
I think given, sorry, go ahead.
It's through the chair, Dan could just respond on the timeline and expectations there, because there is some further work that needs to be done with our member municipalities after this as well, so.
Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you through the chair, building on Sue Warren's comment. It's also for us to be prepared for wildfire season. So we're just trying to get our ducks in a row.
I would say it is very timely. Further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Huh? To who? Feedback to who? Would be to Nora. Thank you. Yeah.
Through the chair, just a comment on the municipality piece of this. Obviously, a number of our municipality partners are part of our emergency program, so Subsequent to this, there'd be agreements that would be set up in terms of how this would work. So ideally, the municipalities are adopting a similar, if not identical policy. So do think about it from your perspective. If you'd like your CAOs to provide feedback, please provide this report to them. Because ideally, we'd like it to be one and the same so that we're not having staff, for example, in 24 wildfire season, we wouldn't want staff have to deal with different rules for Area H versus Silverton versus Spokane in terms of who's applying to access properties. We'd like it to be as similar as possible.
Nora, go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, just to follow up on CEO Horn's comments, already have meetings being set up with the CEOs from the partner municipalities to discuss this item and some others, and discuss an agency agreement that would adopt this policy.
Thanks, Nora. And can you indicate if this report's been forwarded to them, or is that something we should ask our directors to go ahead and send to their CAOs?
At this time, it has not been forwarded, but it is on the agenda for the upcoming meetings, and it'll be part of the agenda package for them.
Okay, so if you want to send it in advance of that discussion for them, please go ahead. Yes, Director Lockwood.
So with all saying that now, we have gone to one meeting a month, and it's our second Tuesday of the month. So we don't have a meeting for us to be able to bring it to accept it at our council until the second Tuesday in June. So to have feedback from the CAO to be able to go to council to say, are you okay with this? That's going to be an issue in our community. I don't know the other communities. So I'm wondering about that timeline.
So through the chair, it's a regional district policy, so it would come here for adoption first, and then it could go to council for any review. So I don't think we'd even make the second Tuesday in June because it would come back to June board here first. And then go to municipalities after.
Supplementary, though, although if we have something different, then we're doing a back and forth. So that's what I'm wondering is having this go to the municipalities before it's actually adopted here.
But what we adopt is not going to reflect the municipalities. You will have your own policy. So you get to we're still going to have our policy as set. And then the municipalities will have theirs. It's not going to change ours.
Although CAO said that it would be really good to have the same.
Through the chair.
That's what I'm saying.
Utopian view, everybody's on the same page.
Right. Okay.
I don't want to speak for what small changes might be seen in the policy. You know what, that just doesn't work for us as a municipality. And we'll deal with that. If it comes up, it's not a problem. We'll figure it out.
Director Len.
Yeah, just a comment. I'm in the same boat in terms of meeting timeline, but my plan, having just recently come through an emergency situation and dealing with the temporary access, my plan is to send it out to council and CAO to provide feedback to me that I can circulate and then provide feedback as necessary. So it's a potential solution to the timing if you're looking for input from your council.
Thank you, Director Len. Okay, we are 10 minutes, 7 minutes. Hamel Creek, I'm not sure. I think we're just receiving this for information, and there will be more down the road. We just received it for info. You're good, Director Newell? Okay. We could move the grants motions. 6.5.1. Moved by Newell, seconded by Jackman. Discussion.
Is that both of them? Or just discretion?
You can do it on the block if you want.
I'll do a block.
So discretionary and development together, seconded. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. We could probably do our report.
Yes.
I have sold. Okay. So a couple notes in terms of chair report. The first one is, you may recall last, speaking of emergency season, last season in July, we circulated a new process regarding how we declare states of local emergencies, and that I as chair do need to, at my best effort, seek consent of the board when I do that. So what that process looks like will be emailed out to you in the near future from staff. It's not necessarily going to change too much from last year. There will be a timeline included in that email. Once that timeline's hit, I will go ahead with the decision at that time. When it comes to emergency season, I am on call 24/7. If I'm not available or if I'm at a cell service, I delegate to Vice Chair McLaren-Co. And that's how we manage the state of local emergencies. And it's Stuart that would be communicating with everyone else. Anything else on the solo you want to mention? Okay. So while we don't expect you necessarily to be on your email all the time as I would be required to do so, do your best to be present on it and have it on your phone or whatever works best for you. And I would never hold up moving in an emergency situation should I have not heard from the majority. Thank you, Edma. What else was on my list? I think that the executive did have a pretty comprehensive conversation regarding workshops, as mentioned earlier. And I think when we get into the new board, we will discuss some of the ones that are a little more on that line between discretionary and what we might want to focus on. So that'll be something we look to in the future. The one that was canceled was specific to the amount of directors that signed up for it, which is everybody has different things going on. That's where that's at. But we acknowledge that there's a lot of workshops. And there's also something that maybe directors aren't as interested in, and that would be where we would propose some type of director engagement on the new board to see what people want to focus on. I always write this down. UBCM. Next month, you will see the list of meetings that the board would be proposing. So those, when they're board-based requesting UBCM to meet with a minister and or staff, they come to the board for general approval. I say general because we don't need a motion, but we like a motion to make sure the executive's asking for the right questions. If you have a specific topic that you really want it to be a board request, first of all, make sure it's kind of regional in focus, not a specific area of request. And send it to us in advance of the June agenda. Currently, what we have on there is small water systems, inland ferries, and a continuing conversation on that. So those are the two the executive has kind of chatted about at this time. And you can email those in to the executive if you have ones you want to see for board. And we will do a board dinner next month. Fingers crossed, we're all good to go for that. Did propose Broken Hill. I randomly asked a municipal director who has to come in all the time, and that was McFadden. So thanks for the suggestion. I've yet to ask them if they could take 20+ people, so that'll be the defining thing. But that's what we'll look at for June, and that would be on a Wednesday evening. More information to come. And I think, was there anything else that executive we discussed that we should note here? No. Okay. Any questions for me? All right, and over to you, CAO.
Madam Chair, I had something, yeah, it's completely slipped my mind. I can't remember anything.
That's not.
I don't know what it was.
Well, we were both discussing who was talking about soul. So
Yeah, somebody has it, yeah.
okay. All right, then let's celebrate Sankita. And lunch has been served, but I guess we'll break the meeting. All those online, good to see you. We'll see you in an hour. Can we see you there? Are you? Can you hear us? Dr. Weatherhead, thank you so much. Dr. David, are you there? Director Cunningham,
Yep. Chair, can you hear me okay?
yes, can do. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amy.
Hi, Director Casey.
Hi.
Well, back. All right. Keep rolling. We are on Rural Affairs Committee. Over to you, Director Jackson.
Great, thank you. So Rural Affairs, as I say each month, has been delegated authority to receive delegations regarding land use applications or land use actions depending on the month. So yesterday we had delegations on 5 of the items. Fortson was Elysian, Acre, Del Caro, and Wausau. Out of that, we have 13 recommendations. I'd like to block few them, I think appropriate. So out of the first two items, 7.1 and 7.2, I'd like to, as a block meeting, we file notice and title, respectively on AB's property area A and Cook's property area B, both for commencing construction without a valid building permit.
Second.
Thank you. So 7.2, number 1 and number 2 in this agenda as a block.
Yes.
It's been seconded. Further discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I'm gonna turn the deadlock there. All I can hear is the humming in the back of me. Okay, so the next three recommendations on this agenda, I'd like to move items 3, 4, and 5 as a block. They are all they are all development variance permit applications. Areas B Gertson, F was Alicia, and area I Acre, and all recommend approval.
Thank you. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next couple, I was gonna move separately, so on this agenda, item number 6, recommendation 6. This is a comprehensive land use bylaw amendment, Friends of Kitchener Society Area B. I move the land use amendment bylaw 3079/2026 be read first and second time by content and refer to public hearing.
Second. Thank you. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
And the next one, to summarize it, I move that Director Tierney be hereby delegated the authority to chair the public hearing on behalf of the board.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Next one's a little unusual and it might end up in a policy discussion, I guess. We do have policy around consumption of liquor and cannabis where we tell the liquor control board we're not interested to go ahead and do the process. We don't have it for sale of unopened liquor, which is why this one came forward. So I would like to move the recommendation, which is fairly lengthy. This is area J, and it outlines the observations by staff with respect to this application.
Thank you, Director Huntergrove. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I'll just note on one like that, if we had a policy not to look at them, then the province would pay for all the consultation and public engagement instead of our staff. The next 3 recommendations are all arising from the same item 7.8. So you see in the heading, they all read area A, G, and H, all 3 of them, but they are split to deal with each area respectively or separately. But they all arise from the same staff report. So I'd like to move recommendation number 9 separately. That is the board direct staff to undertake early and ongoing consultation pursuant to local government act as noted. For the bylaw to amend electoral area G land use bylaw 2452/2018 as described in the committee report, development permit area compliance and enforcement.
And Director Cunningham, second that discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I'd like to move the next 2 as a block. These both came out of the same report. One is area A, one is area H North, and respectively, their consultation will be referred to the official community plan review once those are scheduled. So I move those as a block.
Second that, Director Corba.
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Are we there yet? 2 more. I'll move these separate because somebody here may not have a thought. The number 12, this is the community planning project charter for area B, something that's been waited on for a little while. Move the board direct staff to undertake the area D community planning project as described in the area D community planning project charter dated May 1st, 2026.
I'll second that one. Discussion.
No Yahoo or
Woo-hoo. Did everyone know I have 24 committees? Not just something for now.
I didn't know that.
All those in favor?
And the last one, similar, maybe a little more complex, rising from item 711, item 13. I move the board, direct staff to undertake the LCK Sub-Region West OCP Plan Project in accordance with the project charter, of course, engagement framework, as described.
Second. Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. 8.1, Director Hewitt, you have some motions there. Do you want to move that?
Yeah, I can move them as a block unless they want to be discussed individually. I'll try that.
Do we have a second? Thank you. Discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Sure. What's that?
For sure, we actually.
Okay.
I count 3 opposed.
You got 3 opposed.
It's hard to, it was quick, it was hard to say.
Are we all good with that? Okay. Consent agenda. This is all received for information. Is there in the 9.1 section, is there anything that needs to be corrected? Okay, 9.2 for information. I do want to check, oh, yes, the letter got on there. Thank you for catching that, Director Graham. Got more response on there. Does anyone want to pull any of these for discussion? Alrighty. Accounts payable, any questions? Graham, go, search, what, room is Yeb online? Yeb's online. Let me just make sure he's there.
Thank you. So through the chair, there was just one thing that I noticed, which was in the sundry vendors, there was an entry for $10,500 for RDCK strategic planning. And to be in sundry vendors, that seemed like a very unusual entry.
Sorry, I don't think Yeb.
Oh, okay.
I was just waiting for him to turn on his camera. Oh, there he is. Yeb, did you hear the question?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I did hear the question.
Okay.
I don't have an answer right now on that.
Can you come back to us with it?
I can come back with an answer.
Did you have other questions, Director Graham? Okay, so if you come back to us, any other questions? Okay. We have directors report. We are going to do at least 10 directors reports. And we're going to do those now. We are going to time them just because we did not want to do verbal reports again, but definitely recommended we do at least half. Because we still have a full agenda post the open. So the way I was gonna do that was I was just gonna pick one side of the table to go with. And so I'm gonna go this way, because that's my instinct at this time.
But the keys are on this side.
That's
great. I challenge the chair.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you say?
Who's got a coin? So to do all verbal reports, just bear with me here, to do all verbal reports on average is 1 hour and 20 minutes. We actually have a delegation for in-camera as well. And an in-camera. So if you want to do 1 hour and 20 and possibly go past 4:30, by all means, we can do that.
Well, we can argue about it.
If I might suggest on that side of the table, and I certainly respect everybody, but if you want to trade, I actually was ready for this time. I'm so proud.
I'll give up my spot, director.
I'm not gonna be able to track this, so that's why I need to split the table in half, because I will not remember next month who did what. You are always welcome to submit verbal reports.
Ready.
Yeah, the sheet to next month, good luck.
Thank you.
Yes, Papa.
I support your decision to start with that side.
Let's just get.
Okay, Director Gordon, so I've got nothing to report. There you go, Director Tierney.
One thing I will comment on is, may have noticed in my community development funds, I've been putting $5,000 towards Light Group's water system 3 times in the last 3 months. They are putting that money toward metering. It's a small system, about 25 users, and they they've had real difficulties this past year because there was a private logger renowned in the Kootenays that logged a whole area that was involved their watershed, which they didn't have properly licensed. They've reduced flows and not a very good handle on how much water is being used by individuals. So they wanted to, in discussions, so suggested that they look into the metering. They did a great job of finding the source and came up with some prices. And so that $15,000 I put towards that, about half of what they required to buy and install the meters on all the properties. And so they are coming up with the rest of the money, and just initial comments are that they are very happy with the results they've done so far. And yeah, so I believe that's been a good investment of community development funds.
You have about 10 seconds left.
And that's all I have to say.
Director do it.
Thank you through the chair. Just very quickly, we just had finished our very successful May days. I think it grows every year. There's so many things that happen. Just too bad it happens at the same time as other communities have their events, because I'd like to be able to go and see them, but that's the way it goes. And you've had an application to the county regarding the liquor control board. That's not told me, but Castle has an application in and out for comment for cannabis storefront in Castle. So we've just started that process, and we'll see how that goes. That's it.
So having said, or what you said, I would be so surprised if you showed up requested the same weekend that we do ours, and you do your stuff, and you'd be so surprised if I showed up and that's it. It's hard to get out of your community when you're actively involved. But the only other thing that I would want to point out is that on April 30th, I attended the housing symposium at the Prestige Hotel, and there was representation from RECK, but a lot of representation from some of the housing providers. And what it takes, of course, is loans, grants, volunteers, and a lot of determination to get these projects done. And there have been some very successful projects in the West Kootenay and more on the way. But it was nice to be able to just sit in one room and discuss these things and see who did what and how it worked. So I appreciated going to that. So I won't elaborate more than that, but it was a productive session.
Yes. Yes. Oh, any questions?
Yeah.
Okay, Tom, go ahead. Director, you might please go.
I have one thing to report and one comment. Riffing off of Tierney. You'll notice that in the discretionary grants this month, area had a discretionary grant to the Pulp Rock Society of $30,000, which is quite a large discretionary grant. In fact, with the help of we increased the requisition area from discretion for this particular job, which is the bridge replacement of 3 bridges on the Sproul Creek Trail just over there, which is Pulp Rock Society does have the license of occupation from Rec Parks and Trails. And it's a community effort, but the reason I mention it besides that is that this would have been and had been planned for 2 years to be funded through Community Works. And then the changes happened, thus the need to ask for a greater discretionary grant this year to fund that in area F. And the other thing is, and what's highly interesting is a gravel pit. We have a gravel pit at 4 Mile. It had been inactive for years. It's been picking up. And they have a request to the mining people to quadruple the take of it there to increase the footprint. And as the neighborhood has been involved and staff have been fantastic in liaising with the mining people over in Cranbrook, Jennifer, We had a public meeting a few days ago, hosted by the proponent's agent. Basically a walk around, so that wasn't the best, but they did get a chance to speak with Jennifer. And the impact of this on a neighborhood, a sizable neighborhood, is dramatic, incredible, and in some cases devastating. Travel, health, sand, dust, noise, disturbance. It's really quite incredible to see something that's zoned residential on our map as we look down on it with this industrial activity right in the middle of a community. So it's very troubling, and the Mines Act is very interesting. Thank you.
Director Weatherhead.
Okay, well, I'm just going to focus on one very special person in my report this month. Her name is Annette Devlin, and she lives in Fauquier. Annette and her family were one of the families that was relocated in the flooding of the Arrow Lakes. And Annette, their livelihoods changed. One of the houses in their family, her mother's house, was moved uphill and to the new town of Fauquier that BC Hydro built. And that house still sits there today. Her son lives in it. The reason I'm talking about Annette today is Annette has volunteered for the Fauquier Community Club, which operates the rec hall that BC Hydro would have, one of the things they would have built, the only thing they really would have built besides the systems. And she has actually been volunteering for that since 1968, and she just retired. And there was only 3 years in there where she walked away from it. She was disgruntled with locals, and she walked away for 3 years, and she came back. And this woman is incredible. She has, she would single-handedly take on maintaining the cemetery. She single-handedly maintained, if you ever drive through Fauquier and you take a look at the beautiful green boulevards, large areas, she would mow those herself. So oftentimes Annette just, if nobody else was going to do it, she just did it herself. And this is the story of her life. She's also the curator of all the history. So if you ever want to know anything about anything, she's the person. And anyway, so I would just really like to congratulate Annette in her volunteer retirement. It's incredible. 50 years as a volunteer for the Fauquier community. And so anyways, that's all I'm talking about. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Weatherhead. Thank you, Annette.
Is it Dave job?
Okay. I'm gonna do a wild card. Vandenberg, you can take David off spot. Go ahead.
Thank you, through the chair.
You vote on that?
So interesting news, Crescent Chamber has leased the third floor of the Western Financial Group with a innovative project called 301 Innovation and Co-working Center. So it is quite an interesting concept that is going forward in our community. That's really noteworthy, and good on for community champions for supporting and rallying behind that. We have the Kootenay Food Council's AGM is coming to Creston this Friday. And it's working out well because our Fields Forward, our Food Action Coalition, our Food Hub are all going to be a part of it. And what's really interesting is that the KFC has done a good job of ensuring that Creston and the resources in Creston are wrapping into their strat plan. So very pleased to see that, excited to have that happen. We have a couple of subdivisions in our neighborhood, Alice Siding, who is making an effort to tap into water resources for their group, and our Wendell Irrigation expansion project, which they've done all the work, is well underway. The engineering is done, and they're about shovel ready, waiting for some confirmation on funding. And then lastly, our Ready grants. So Director Tierney and myself did something a little bit different this year. We got together, area B and C, and invited all the public presentations in to one setting. So we had both of our groups sit, listen, and ask questions around that. And I think that it was a very good use of those people and their time. And they seem to be quite appreciative that we provided that setting for them. And I would say that, not speaking for Director Tierney, but it went really smooth, and we would continue doing that. So that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jackman.
Yeah, thanks.
Chair,
So
Chair, I'm privileged. I just want to say you're welcome, Kelly.
that comes off my time.
No.
So it's interesting the comments about concurrent events because they happen everywhere. We've had now resurrected the property market every Sunday, which is kind of nice to see. It went into abeyance of COVID and climbing back. Took a few years. A lot of other community events occurring all the time. I noticed in Boswell, like the focus on health meetings, plant sales, a couple of rummage sales, travel taps. It's 4 of our community centers. We have the seniors lunches and the like. All of that's very active right now. Harrison Memorial Church is trying to get down the home stretch on their fundraising. They have to retire their debt, their mortgage fairly soon. But they started doing music events every couple of weeks as fundraisers. So we thought we wanted to go across the shore. We actually have a couple of restaurants open again finally. So something to think about. On the little bit of a struggling side, 2 of our community halls are still struggling. And it's interesting how Crawford Bay Hall, their 2.04 million of their 2.17 million required before they can begin construction. Being partially federally funded, we can't help them with leveraging with like gas tax money and stuff like that. And funding sources are really drying up. It is getting tough to get anybody to shell out a couple or $10,000, which is a little sad. Window Hall, you get a big challenge in front of them. On the plus side again, a whole lot more boats and RVs coming down the way these days, and at least the big ferry's back because it's filling up with a lot of travelers. So it's nice to see. Keep our fingers crossed that they will use our couple of restaurants and not crowd out people who want to come visit and listen to our music or see our Sunday events.
3 seconds to spare.
Well, thanks, Andrew.
Director Graham, go ahead.
Thank you. So through the chair, I'm glad to be able to make a verbal report because there's something I wanted to talk to the board about today. And that is that recently there's been a number of complaints from residents around the DLB and Horlicks Point area regarding homeless encampments popping up in the area. BOB and Horlicks Point borders the city of Nelson along the west shores of the Kootenay Lake, if you're not aware of where it is. And for me, this represents a new problem in Area E and something that I think will no doubt end up affecting more, if not all, of the rural areas. The residents, this is a complicated area. Part of it is multi-jurisdictional. There's the city of Nelson. Part of it is Area E residential. There's part Crown land, there's a park, and then there's CP rail. So the residents and myself are struggling with identifying the exact jurisdictional boundaries. Stuart is trying to help me with the map. And this problem is compounded by the fact that these encampments are moving around. So they're going from one jurisdiction to another, and we are all anticipating a growth in this issue over the coming warmer months. Resident issues include garbage and wildlife attractants, attracting bears, rats, mice, unpleasant odors, sanitation concerns, fuel storage, and constant fires, increasing wildfire risks, trespassing. There's been some reports of altercations between the residents and the campers, and one report of a camper suicide in the area, which was reported to me through a phone call by a local resident. So obviously this is a problem that the RDCK cannot solve alone. Healthcare, mental issues are the provincial responsibilities, housing, province, BC Housing, policing, RCMP, Crown land, provincial. So from my research, what does not usually help is constant camp evictions without alternatives, criminalizing poverty, expecting bylaw officers alone to manage complex addiction or mental health situations, or ignoring camps until there's a major fire, overdose, or major environmental issue. So communities tend to see better outcomes when they combine outreach and housing supports. Is this available in rural areas? They tend to do better when There's consistent enforcement of dangerous behaviors. Who does that in which jurisdiction? And also cleanup and sanitation support. In our rural areas, we've got volunteers doing that kind of work. That's who we're relying on. So I've been doing a lot of thinking about this and what we could realistically do at the RDCK for like rural areas now and for future issues. So I have a couple ideas here. One is improving our coordination and communications, because denying the issue, crossing our fingers, pointing at others is not going to help. How can we coordinate our communications between the residents, RDCK director, and all of these various law enforcements that are in the area, CP Rail Police, Natural Resource Officers, RCMP, Conservation Officers, City and Nelson. In this case, this area actually has a little email distribution that they have within their own area. They also subscribe to the ENF newsletter. And what are the CP rail powers and policies here? I don't know. So is it possible to develop a single complaint form for something like this that was centralized, sort of like the RAP does? Do we have clear RDCK bylaws, like things like camping, sanitation, fires, like can they apply here? And what can we do, like, about cleanup and sanitation? So the reason, again, I'm using my director's time to bring this forward is because I think it's several months between when we get to say anything. I didn't know what else to do. Quite honestly, I'm at a bit of a loss. As a director, I have reached out to the RCMP, and I do have good news that I got yesterday, a pretty comprehensive report from our contact at the RCMP, and that was somewhat encouraging. But I really think at this table that we need, the rural areas need to start thinking about what we're going to do. We don't have city councils to talk about this. We don't have any policies or plans. So I'm asking everyone here to think about this. Like, could this be a workshop? Should it be a workshop? Should it be on the RAC agenda? I don't know what to do. I'm asking for help. And I just wanted to bring this up because this is not going away.
Thanks, Dr. Grant.
Thank you.
Further discussion can come forward in an agenda item, should you wish, or whatever you would like to do. We don't entertain discussion at this time. Okay. Sorry?
We're just colluding.
Okay. So sticking to the 10 and this side of the table would be me, but I'm not gonna do me because I'm the chair. I'm gonna go to Vice Chair McLaren Co, and then we're gonna move on.
That was 10.
Well, splitting the table, one of us has to go either this month or next month, so he gets to go.
Okay, thanks, sir. Looking at Director Jack, this is my longest report ever, so I apologize for that. There's as many links as I can put in there as possible. But I will just say it's been a super busy month. There's a lot going on in the cusp that's not in my report. There's a lot of the construction CBT is in the office that is more or less done, which is going to be a nice bookend to downtown. They're also building a 6-unit housing development in the cusp, which might not sound like much, but it's a small community. It is. There's also a brewery that's on our main street, which is almost completed, which is an exciting development, although I don't really drink, but will be good for the town. I was able to attend the Columbia River Conversations with facilitated by WildSite, which as always did a fantastic job discussing the Columbia River Basin, the treaty, and the affected areas. Our mayor was there, Director Weatherhead was there, local government committee representatives were there. It was a very good day, good way to spend a Sunday. And otherwise in the month, tons of travel. If you actually got through my report, AKBLG, I managed to go to AVIC and Silga as well, their area association conventions, as well as UBCM executive meeting and the advocacy days. My first one with them there, which was a really worthwhile time to spend with some MLAs and ministers to discuss our priorities. And if you were in trail at AKBLG, one of the highlights was I got to have dinner with Mr. Osborne the night before the banquet, which was lovely. And we had a really good session the next morning on the Sunday morning with Josie Osborne and Sylvia Weir, the CEO of Interior Health. And if you weren't in trail, you missed a really fun entertainment that evening. I have a paralytic fear of dancing, and they roped me into cabaret dancing. So There's a corset and a skirt involved, it was a whole thing. So, anyway, thanks very much.
So just want to make sure, okay, I forgot I had a chair's report, when we attended the chair and CAO forum last month, and I actually are going over all the things you did. I recall we overlapped with a few of you in Victoria, and that's what triggered it. So that was in the agenda, if you have questions or want to know what we did at that conference, it's there. So now we are going to move to in camera. Close the meeting to the public. I'll get it. Thank you. Discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? And let's just put on. I'll take a motion then to recess open meeting, please. Move second discussion. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried? Thank you.